Imagine being Seiji Managi, just a normal high schooler, forced to sit through yet another mind-numbing lecture, praying for it to end. Our boy is the kind of legend who looks at class and thinks, yeah, today's the perfect day to nap right here. But just when his dream starts to feel real, a mysterious ripple tears through the air, and a whispering voice promises blessings. He snaps his eyes open, then freezes, because his desk is gone and bubbles drift around him like the world got flipped upside down. Nagi panics the moment he realizes he's trapped deep underwater, and he scrambles for the surface before drowning hits. He strains to move, but his arms and legs just refuse to obey, while a giant fish locks eyes on him like it's about to swallow him whole. It hits him like a punch. This isn't a glitch at all because he's not controlling the water, he's become it, stone cold and real. His sight suddenly balloons open, and he gets a full top-down view of the whole area, like he's peering through a flying drone. A brutal flood of information crashes into his mind like his brain just got slammed with a download of the entire world's wiki. He realizes he's been reincarnated as a great water spirit, and this giant lake isn't just nearby anymore, it's literally his real body. A few days crawl by as he struggles to absorb the brutal truth. His human life is officially gone. Honestly, being a lake is the perfect vibe. Sunlight hits different, everything feels calm, and there's not a single stress in the world. Strange creatures start washing up on his shores, like that horned bunny that looks exactly like a rare gacha pull. Then he realizes his water is straight-up high-tier loot. One sip can heal any injury or illness. Suddenly, the calm snaps in half as the local wildlife catches a scent of something closing in. Two human kids pop into view, and Naga's eyes widen. These are the first people he's seen since waking up in this brand new world. The kids clutch a basket packed with medicinal herbs, but you can tell, fear's gripping them so hard they don't dare use a single one. Lumina drops to his knees by the lake and begs, "Great Spirit, please heal our mother's illness." They scoured the world for every herb they could get their hands on, praying the lake would cough up a miracle. Tension snaps tight as a colossal winged wolf lunges out of the brush, towering like a full-blown endgame boss. This monster looks straight-up terrifying, rows of razor teeth and wings that scream not your average trash mob. And the kids are sweating buckets as the wolf rockets forward, ready to crush them all. Nagi doesn't even pause. He whips up a massive swirl of water to shield the kids, and from his watery view he watches his power slam down and stop the predator cold. Naga's jaw drops. He can control water instantly, with zero lag just by thinking about it. He clocks how weird he looks as this giant blob, then snaps into action and starts forming a human shape. He morphs into a total badass in a hood, and glowing water blasts and cascades around his body like it's alive. He even stitches up some slick outfits from the lake, so nobody can peg him as a total weirdo. "Good, now you're safe," he says as he reaches for the trembling kids. The kids are so flooded with relief that they crumple to the ground, then launch into a tight, tearful hug with their savior. Staring out at the jagged mountain range, the boy blurts, "So who are you?" Neji decides to keep his old name and strides up, telling everyone he's the spirit of the lake. The kids' eyes light up with literal sparkles, because they've never seen magic this powerful in their lives. Nagi stays ice calm and admits, "Yeah, I just landed this job, like it's no big deal." He presses a tiny orb of water to the girl's face, right over the nasty cut. The wound disappears in an instant, and that's the proof. He's got S-rank healing power. The girl practically glows, yelling, "Naji, you're incredible." But the boy's smile vanishes, and as he steels himself, he braces to make one last desperate request. "Please help my mother," he sobs, head bowed, tears streaming. Nagi slips in a gentle head pat and tells him with total confidence that everything's going to be okay. He forces the kids to swear his existence stays a total secret from the entire rest of the world. He pours his concentrated healing water into their flask and swears it'll cure their mom. Because the forest is packed with deadly monsters, he decides they're going to need a bodyguard. He whips up a tiny, bouncy water spirit that tags along, then follows them all the way home. A window labeled Najipedia bursts onto the screen and breaks down exactly how all of this works. This isn't just magic. Great spirits can summon familiars with the same power, using them as their eyes and ears, and now the boy can feel something mysterious pouring out of that tiny spirit, the one that matches Naga's abilities. Nagi calls the little guy Lu, then tells the kids, "Go on, be friends with it." They raise a hand for one last goodbye, then blaze back toward their village with their brand new companion in tow. Nagi decides he's finished playing human for the moment. Then he melts back into the depths like it was all just a disguise. He drifts calmly through the plants, soaking up the peaceful, quiet life only a spirit could ever get. Under the night sky, the world glints back at him, and it hits at last. He finally feels like he belongs. But then his peace gets smashed to pieces by another frantic SOS, screaming through the water like a ghost. A battered crew of dark elves crawls onto the shore, bruised and wrecked like they just survived a real-life war. Blood covers the father's body as he drops to his knees begging, "Please save this child, please." Nagi snaps into action and pours a stream of healing water straight into the dying child's mouth. His eyes burst open, the second life force comes rushing back into his body. Their injuries fade away, and the whole family breaks down in tears from the spirit's mercy. Neji cracks open his Nagipedia and hunts for answers about these brand new arrivals. The system tells us dark elves are basically spirit magnets. They can usually spot spirits like they're right there in front of them. And in this world, humans are basically beefy idiots who treat dark elves like their enemies from day one. Even though they're really the ones fighting the demons, humans still look at them like absolute monsters. Nagi's voice cuts through the water as he tells them, "You don't have to act so formal." The elves freeze in disbelief as the great spirit's voice hits them straight from the heavens. Nagi tells them, "You can stay by the lake, just swear you'll never pollute the water." The whole family is swamped with gratitude, and they shower him with thanks for his kindness. They burst into the room introducing themselves. Etna, his wife Lena, and their kid Hilio. And just like that, Nagi finally locks in his very first crew of permanent neighbors. A whole month slips by, and Nagi can't stop pacing in his head, desperate to know how those human kids are doing. He checks in on them again through his familiar lose vision technique. He locks eyes with the kids and their mom smiling, healthy, safe in their own home, and it hits him like, yeah, I'm the hero. He still has no clue why he was ripped into this world in the first place. But the moment he realizes he can wield this S-rank power to save lives, that's all the purpose he needs. He swears he'll save anyone he can reach. Nagi bursts out of the lake to talk to Etna, and she's instantly stunned he's right there. Etna tells him that ever since they arrived, nobody's taken a serious hit. And while he's been wondering why, she's been working the fertile land around the lake, planting seeds like her life depends on it. Nagi flashes a grin and says, "I can't wait for that." Then a twisted voice screams for help right in his ears. Nagi shoots Etna a look, asking if she heard it too, but the elf is completely clueless. The voice spikes louder and louder, a desperate plea begging the Great Spirit to save someone's last only family. Suddenly, a colossal magic circle explodes up beneath Nagi's feet. He got yanked straight into a whirling vortex of water and blazing light, forcibly ripped away from where he stood. Where are they dragging our boy, and who's really yanking the strings behind the curtain? Nagi jolts awake in a strange place, stunned that he's been yanked through a mysterious magic circle and left wondering, what the heck is going on? He discovered a faint voice begging for help, and that voice had summoned him. He suddenly realizes he's trapped in a cramped, pitch-black cage, and all around him, terrified children huddle in panic. The second it hits him, he realizes this isn't a normal prison at all. It's a living cage built to sell merchandise. A tiny half-elf girl is on her knees, desperately praying to the Great Spirit, begging it to save her brother Rudo. Nagi suddenly realizes it, she's half-elf, spirits usually won't answer her, but her pure heart somehow still reached him. He bursts into view before her and thunders, "I've come because you called, I'm Nagi, the mighty spirit of the lake." Seeing the kid slumped and unconscious on the floor, he realizes his brand new healing power is the only thing that can pull the boy back. Yona drops to her knees and pleads for him to save her only family, even offering to give up everything she owns just to make it happen. Nagi could tell Rudo was hanging by a thread, and then it hit. He didn't get summoned by accident, he was brought in because of his rare link to healing power. Seeing Yona's strong, kind heart, he doesn't even hesitate. He grants her wish on the spot. A glowing spirit contract seal blooms on her arm, and just like that, it locks in their new bond. With that, the contract's finally sealed. He grins wide and dives straight into work. Nagi planted his hand on Rudo's head and slammed a surge of healing energy straight into his body. The healing magic hit like lightning, and in a single instant those iron shackles snapped off the kid, his glass-like body suddenly safe. Beastkin elves, every kid in that place stares jaw-dropped because their chains are just gone. Rudo finally snaps his eyes open, stares up at his sister, and can't help wondering, was this all a dream? Neji's heart practically melts at the reunion, but he snaps back to reality. He can't walk away and leave these kids stuck in this dump. He tells them, "We're getting out of here," even while he's secretly sweating bullets about how in the world he's supposed to handle an entire squad of orphans. One of the animal-eared kids blurts out, "So, escaping is even possible." And Nagi just shoots back, "Yeah, because as long as I'm here you'll be okay." Then boom, the trash mob guards burst in, roaring at those brats like they're the ones who caused the entire commotion. The moment they spot Nagi, they snap into stunned silence, hit by an overwhelming wave of disgust and raw, suffocating power. These bulky idiots have been treating kids like trash, and Naga's aura is ramping up so hard the whole room starts to shake. One of them even yanks out a knife and growls, asking if Nagi really thinks he can defy them. Naga's gaze turns icy as he hears their threats, and then, calm as ever, he snaps that they're nothing but trash. Before the guard can even blink, Nagi wrenches the moisture in the air and blasts him backward with a brutal high-pressure jet of water. The guards are losing it, screaming, "Stay away," while Maggie's water magic starts swirling around him like a warning storm. He heckles them, smirking, and dares them. "If I told you I'm a great spirit, would you even believe me?" Nagi stops messing around and hurls out colossal liquid hands that tower over the attackers. He tightens his fist, and the water snaps into action instantly, smashing the opposition to pieces. He whips up a raging vortex that blasts the guards off their feet, folding them hard onto the stone floor like paper. Nagi looms over those thugs, and they're left twitching in the puddles like they just got erased. With the danger finally gone, he snatched the guards' keys and unlocked the rest of the cells so the other kids could break free. More reinforcements crash in, shouting that he's a mage and insisting they're tied to a legitimate slave trade. Nagi shuts them down in an instant, saying, "I'm not a mage, I'm a spirit." He jabs his finger at the main scumbag, and roars that he's here to rescue the kids from filth like them. He lets the water steal the spotlight, blasting the guards away with a brutal tidal wave. Nagi throws them one last chilling warning: keep enslaving children from here on out and there won't be a next time. The last guards are so petrified they stumble and trip over their own feet just to bolt for safety. Our kid herds the others out of the dungeon at last, and when they finally burst into the open air, bam, the sunlight hits and everyone can breathe again. They land in this giant city and Naga's panic hits hard. He has zero clue where he is or how in the world to get back to his lake. And just when things couldn't get worse, his stomach rumbled like thunder and he finally snapped. Oh no, humans actually have to eat. He rips through his inventory and freezes because he's got 0 gold to his name, meaning supplies are out of reach. He swings into a bakery, but the shopkeeper clocks him immediately and looks way too suspicious about the guy rolling in with a whole gotcha pull full of different races. Nagi panics and blurts out a crazy lie, claiming all these kids are his half-brothers. And then he's grinning like, finally, they're all reunited. He instantly regrets going overboard, because that fake backstory hits so hard that the baker lady is straight up moved to tears. She piles the kids with all the bread they can eat for free, then leans in and tells Nagi, "Yeah, bad guys exist, but so do good people." After snagging the snacks, Nagi learns they've landed in Ilmus, way down in the far south, far from the kingdom of Ragunas. He's desperate for quick cash, so the baker tells him, "Forget the grind, become a merchant or a craftsman and start raking in currency fast." Nagi spots the Adventurers Guild, then thinks, "Let's clear a quest, fastest way to get my bag." He strides into the guild, spots the request board and instantly thinks, this is the perfect way to cash in fast. He marches up to the counter with his squad and tells the receptionist, "Register me as an adventurer." On the form he keeps it plain name, Nagi, race human, occupation mage, skill water magic. He finally gets his official ID card, starting at the very bottom tier, grade 10. To keep everything calm, he picks an easy herb harvesting job, something so safe the kids can tag along without worrying. Just as he's about to bolt out the door, a crew of top-tier adventurers crash in, dragging a badly wounded teammate with them. The guild explodes into panic because that party got ambushed by a basilisk. Nagi knows those basilisk wounds come with a brutal curse. Once they hit, normal healing just won't work. Yona stares at the dying elf woman Philly and then pleads with Neji to save her. Nagi lets out a sigh and tells her to trust him, even as he clearly tries to stay invisible today. He strides up to the unconscious elf, then quietly tips some magic-infused water into our mouths. The crowd is still panicking over the basilisk, but Naga's divine tier magic is already scrubbing the curse clean away. He tells the kids to calm down and points them to finish their herb quest, while everyone's too busy gawking at the miracle to notice. Philly jolted awake, feeling fully recharged, and told her teammates she'd felt a divine presence the second her eyes opened. She snaps to the truth, this isn't just in her head, and whips her eyes around the room, hunting for the one who's going to save her. She clocks Nagi slipping out of the building, then bursts into a sprint after him and yells, "Wait a second." She catches up to him in that alley, drops into a deep bow, and thanks him like her life depends on it. Because it does. Nagi tries to shrug it off, but her eyes lock on him with pure, unshakable intensity. She hits him with a shocker on the spot, then fires the question, "So, are you the great spirit of water?" Looks like our boy's secret identity blew wide open in record time. Philly is absolutely rattled as she locks eyes with Nagi, and the truth finally hits. She came straight out and demanded face-to-face if Point Blank was really the great water spirit. Before she even gets a word out, the rest of the squad, Gon and Shawnees included, barge in and yank her back to bed, because she's still fighting off recovery. They're trying to stay logical, but Philly's elf senses are screaming, and Naga's sweating bullets as the pressure of getting caught ramps up. Finally, he just shrugs off the fear and hits that confirmation. Then Philly totally loses it, going full fangirl meltdown. She's so stunned that a literal deity ripped her out of death that she's practically buzzing with energy. Nagi lunges in and catches her just before she hits the floor, Then bam, a brand new challenger crashes into the moment. That old man is Yushin, the guildmaster, and he's been secretly listening in on the entire reveal. He clocks that they can't drop this huge lore bomb in the middle of a hallway, so he whips the whole crew back to the guild for a private talk. As soon as they sink into the VIP lounge, the vibe turns suffocating, like the truth finally crashes down on them. Yushin drops to his knees and bows deep, bursting with respect for Nagi after she risked everything to guard one of his top-tier adventurers. Then our boy starts spilling the whole story, how it all blew up right after a kid calls out to him. He unpacks every single step of what happened, from the rescue all the way to where things stand right now. Yushin finally lets out a breath of relief, knowing the kids were yanked out of that nightmare and made it out safe. But Philly can't get past one detail. Some half-elf actually pulled off summoning a great spirit, and that's totally unhinged. According to the lore, only the high elves are said to carry a mana pool like that. That realization slams into Yana hard, and the second she looks up, you can see the weight of the whole world crushing down on her shoulders. To thank him, Yushin shoves a massive bag of gold into his hands to cover every travel expense. Nagi is left speechless. He never imagined the Great Spirit title would carry this much clout in this world. Yushin is basically handing him a blank check like, "Tell me what you need, and I'll make it happen." Night crashes over the city like a wave. The guild hall towers under a sky full of stars, glowing like it's daring the night to challenge it. The streets fall deathly quiet, like the whole city is holding its breath. And Nagi stays on watch as the kids finally drift off into some real good sleep. He's honestly grateful you won't hook them up with that kind of top-tier lodging. Suddenly, Yona stumbles up to him, utterly spent and drained to the bone. He leans in and asks if she's having trouble sleeping. And she dips her head again, thanking him like it's the only thing that matters. But in the depths of her eyes, a heavy darkness lingers as she scrambles to find the words. She actually bows her head and apologizes for calling him in the first place, like she can't believe someone like her somehow reaches someone as powerful as him. She clutches her chest, reeling from a brutal blow to her self-worth after being treated like trash for far too long. Neji finally realizes her past trauma has poisoned her mind, convincing her she doesn't deserve his protection. Watching her fall apart under everyone else's stunned silence tore his heart in two. She's trembling with guilt, fully convinced she's nothing but a burden dragging everyone down. But Nagi swoops in, pats her head softly, and tells her she has absolutely nothing to apologize for. He leans in and reminds her, "You're my contractor, and you're the one who dragged me here." And then he drops a sweet, wholesome truth. He's actually grateful she called, because it gave him a chance to finally see the outside world. That's exactly what she needed to hear, and the moment it hit her, she broke down, tears of pure relief pouring out. Right in the middle of it all, Philly slams on the door, and their moment is instantly over. She blurts out an apology for the midnight interruption, even though she knows it's going to shake things up. But she's racing with a desperate message right from the guild. Nagi gets this gut feeling, like he's about to crack the whole mystery the moment he figures out what this is about. The adventurers step forward, swear they'll protect the kids with their lives and leave Nagi to handle the business. He whips around to Yona and tells her he has to bolt out for a little while. But the moment she sees him walk away, heartbreak hits her like a wrecking ball, pure devastation on her face. Her eyes brimmed with terror, begging the universe he'd come back to her. To seal it for real, Nagi hooks a pinky promise and swears on his honor that he'll be back. That promise finally lights up her face with a real, heartfelt smile. Beneath the blazing glow of the full moon, Nagi pushes deeper into the dark, tangled forest, vanishing from the safety behind him. The woods feel deathly quiet, and he can sense something huge, lurking in the shadows like it's waiting to strike. Before long, he zeroes in on his target. A gigantic basilisk is just waiting for him to show up. Back at the guild, Yushin laid it out. This monster was pure nightmare fuel, and its body was almost impossible to destroy. Nagi had already cracked the truth. He realized this was the same beast that folded Philly's team earlier. The scouts didn't just stop, they came back with something far worse. They'd found a second one, a female, and she's ready to burst. Two basilisks are slithering straight toward town for a feeding ground, and the guild has just slapped a jaw-dropping 20 million gold bounty on their heads. Yushin literally dropped to his knees, begging Nagi to pelagro and save the whole town. Nagi's not chasing this just for cash. He knows if he doesn't step in, innocent people are going to get slaughtered. Yushin's buzzing with pure hype. He swears he'll pass Naga's legend on to every future generation. Right now, Nagi tightens his gear and readies himself for the hunt. Two giant, prehistoric-looking basilisks burst out from the trees, and they look absolutely ready to smash through the lobby. A basilisk meets its prey's eyes, and that deadly stare presses down like a living curse. Our boy finally clocks it. His petrifying evil eye won't work in this human form, so he immediately swaps into a boss fight build that's built to survive what's coming. He starts pouring out an insane amount of mana, and it blasts into a majestic water dragon form, because he's got to become even stronger, no excuses. He rockets through the air with instant speed, blazing a trail of shimmering water right behind him. He drifts above the forest, grinning like, if I'm going to fight, I'm doing it in style. The two basilisks realize they've yanked aggro from something way beyond their pay grade, because that massive dragon is looming over them like a doom-shaped shadow. They're trying to look terrifying, but the moment this power hits, their composure crumbles, sweat is pouring like crazy. Natty doesn't let them even breathe. She unleashes a crushing breath attack that wipes the entire lobby clean. The energy beam slams one of the snakes straight in the mouth, crushing its defenses on the spot. Mana pours out in terrifying waves, and the entire forest erupts in a blinding flash. The blast detonates so hard it gouges the earth into deep craters, and leaves the whole area around it warped and folded. Even Nagi was thrown off by the sheer wreckage, and he flat-out admitted the power was way more than he'd ever expected. One of the basilisks even tries to apologize as its partner gets absolutely wrecked, but Nagi won't let them slide for a second. The last snake panics and screams, "But I won't let you slip away," then it lunges with one final, desperate strike. It whirls up a colossal water vortex, snapping shut like a liquid cage to trap our boy. The water explodes with violent bubbles as the basilisk shoves every ounce of power into the spell. When the mist finally lifts, Nagi snaps back into his human form, still totally unfazed, as he strides right toward the fallen beast. That massive basilisk is finally out of the game, sprawled on the forest floor and completely still. He stretches out his hand and brushes the scales, confirming the kill for real. He clocks the other woman with a distended belly and murmurs, "I'm sorry," while the guild head stares on, hit with pure stunned shock. Nagi calmly says the job's done, only to miss the fact that a guild member is hiding in the trees, right in the shadows. Our boy's got next-level instincts. He casually tells the hidden scout to go fetch the corpse like it's no big deal. The guild member's jaw drops when he sees Nagi vanish in a blur, stealth on his feet, speed at full power, as Nagi gears up to rocket back to town. Back at the guild office, the boss is losing his cool, because he never in a million years thought the quest would get cleared this fast. He drops to his knees in a deep bow, thanking Nagi for saving the city, then hands over a jaw-dropping mountain of gold. Nagi gapes at the loot, stunned by how absurdly huge it is. But the real gotcha comes next. The gift is an item box bag that lets the user haul an infinite amount of luggage. Naga's jaw drops. This utility is a cheat code, because now he can hoard every item he wants without restraint. The old man isn't finished. He digs deep and yanks out one last reward. That official plate just dropped, and it means Nagi has officially leveled up. She's now a 4th-class adventurer. Nagi's jaw drops at the rank. Then the boss calmly tells him, "You've earned 1st class, no question, but 4th is all I'm allowed to give you right now." Outside, the guild staff is already hauling the giant snake onto a wagon, getting it ready for a full appraisal. Nagi flashes a respectful smile and thanks them for everything right as he's about to leave. He snatches up his brand new magic bag, then hesitates. Should he rush right back to the lake? With the sun bleeding into the horizon over town, Nagi starts clicking pieces together, and the lore he uncovers is seriously worrying. He knows basilics usually keep their distance from people, so why are they creeping right up to the city? He freezes dead in his tracks, suddenly wondering if somebody tampered with everything just to set off this crisis. He stands alone on the street for a beat, feeling it, like something huge is about to snap into place. Dark thoughts crash to a stop the moment he spots Philly and the kids waiting right outside the inn for him. They couldn't wait for him to come back, and they demanded to greet him themselves. The kids stare at him like he's a hero from a dream. Then they burst out, "Lord Neji, welcome home." Our boy finally breaks into a smile and fires back, "I'm home." He gets totally swamped by a tidal wave of kids in the sweetest group hug ever. He tells them to get ready, because tomorrow they're kicking off their journey straight to his lake. He calls that lake a peaceful paradise, where the dark elves are living happy and free. He's convinced the kids will slide right into place, because they've all fought through the same kind of pain. Philly and her crew are posted off to the side, and you can practically feel the weight of whatever they're thinking pressing on them. Philly glides up to him, voice gentle, telling him she's just relieved he came back safe. She tells them you owe him a debt you can't ever fully repay, like it's a promise you'll be carrying forever. She sucked in a shaky breath and told him, "Lord Neji, I need to ask you something." She asks if her whole party can tag along with him on his journey. She tells him, "I'll repay your kindness. Let me be your service and I'll prove it." The other guys rallied behind her, swearing they'd team up to shield the town and keep those kids safe. The kids are buzzing and cheering like crazy, because their big sister is finally coming with them. Nagi looks around and realizes the kids have fully warmed up to the group. Philly and the boys drop to a low bow, begging for his blessing and permission to join them. Nagi shoots his hand out and takes it right away, thanking them for the offer like he's relieved it finally happened. "From this point on, I'm counting on you," he says, smiling warmly. Philly's face lights up like she just hit the jackpot, pure joy exploding across her expression. The crew spends the rest of the day hustling, tightening straps, grabbing whatever they need, and tearing into the local tailor to get brand new gear. The kids look absolutely adorable in their brand new travel outfits. The townspeople crowd in to say their final goodbyes, and one woman even clings to Nagi with a tear-soaked hug for saving them. Philly and the crew huddle up beside the wagon, ready to charge like a real adventuring party. Nagi grabs the final, massive payment bag for the basilisk materials. Yaoshin, the guild head, steps out himself to personally send them off. He tells Nagi to come by any time, and swears the next visit will come with an even bigger celebration. Nagi vaults onto the wagon and yells, "All right, who's ready to roll?" With a final shout of "All right, let's go," the whole crew breaks into motion for the lake, ready to start their brand new life. The squad finally kicks off from Ilmus and races toward the lake, pushing through a thick, suffocating forest, while some mysterious bird keeps its silent watch from the shadows. It's honestly heartwarming watching the kids light up at every bit of scenery as they ride toward their next stop, the city of Ronin. On the road, Gandon and Shauna's swing into tank mode, drilling the kids in the party's must-know self-defense moves. Meanwhile, Nagi tests their magic potential. And boom, Yona and Rut instantly prove they're basically top-tier units in the making. He starts teaching them how to bend the elements, coaching them to unlock that spirit magic power inside them. Philly and our boy are strutting like proud parents, showing the kids the ropes while they hunker down under the stars. Now he's just praying for a comfy bed the moment they reach the city. But the gacha gods are absolutely not cutting him any slack today. The second they pull up at the local inn, the manager slams them with a hard stop and screams, "Sorry, we're packed today, try somewhere else." Turns out Ronin's jam-packed, and they've officially torn through every single spot in town, leaving no inch unsearched. Even Gandon and Shanna look wrecked like they just survived a brutal dungeon crawl, because after failing to find a single manor to rent, they've got nothing left but exhaustion. It's a complete dead end, and the team is finally getting the message. The city's hospitality is straight-up fake. Yona tries to play it tough, telling Lord Neji they're totally cool with crashing in the dirt like some low-level grunts. Right when they're about to throw in the towel, a local kid starts circling them, hovering like he's begging to pull aggro. The crew snaps straight into battle mode, looking like they're one step away from flattening anyone who dares to come close. But it turns out it's just a scared little kid, swearing up and down that he's not suspicious at all. Nagi clocks that the team's way too wound up, so he steps in fast, cools the whole scene down, and makes it clear they're just travelers who don't know the local streets. His face lights up like a match, and he's suddenly offering to take them to a secret spot. He yells, "Follow me." Philly is sweating bullets because he followed some random NPC straight into a dark alley. But Nagi flashes her that main character smirk and vows, "If things go south, I've got you, I'll protect you." The rest of the party is so blown away they practically vow their whole lives to him, and even our boy is like, "Whoa, that's a little too intense." The kid guides them straight to the edge of town, then finally slams the brakes at a creepy, tucked-away building in total seclusion. A kind-hearted woman named Marina greets them warmly, somehow making even that huge, massive crowd feel welcome. She reassures them to drop the worry, because there's more than enough bedding waiting for them. Turns out this place is an orphanage run by the Sarah religion, dedicated to saving the helpless and throwing a lifeline to anyone who's in need. Nagi's guilt gnaws at him for smashing into a charity house, but he pushes past it, because those kid residents can't see a pack of geared-up adventurers as a threat. He tries to play it smooth, rolling right up and introducing himself and his crew like they're just harmless travelers. Nagi straight up tells them the kids aren't just passengers, they're refugees, hunting for a safe place to call home. Yona steps up and delivers a gut-punching speech, telling the other orphans that Lord Nagi and the others aren't monsters at all. They're kind-hearted people who genuinely care about them. She swears, "Just stay for one night and you'll be good kids," like it's a deal fate can't refuse. Watching Yona rip into the moment and act fearless for the whole group absolutely wrecks Nagi emotionally. The local kids buy in on the spot, flashing those huge grins and pulling their new friends in like they've always belonged. Nagi bursts into a proud grin and gives Yona a sweet head pat like, "You nailed it, job well done." Philly's grinning ear to ear, overflowing with pride as she thanks Yona for finally having the guts to speak her mind. The entire squad drops to one knee for Marina, officially begging her for shelter for the night. Nagi isn't here to freeload. He slams down a massive bag of gold so ridiculous it'd make even the biggest gacha whale sweat. Marina's jaw drops at the price, but Nagi pushes back. "This is a fair trade for your kindness." With the funding locked in, Marina goes all in, slamming together an insane feast that looks like it was pulled straight from a luxury tavern. Philly dives into the cooking like a hero, scrambling to make sure every single person at the table gets fed. During dinner, Marina blurts out the brutal truth. Most of the orphanage staff have bilayed to chase better pay, and she's been left alone to carry the entire burden. Nagi pushes for answers about Sarah's religion, and Marina lays it out. This faith is all about jumping in to help people who are struggling. She says their faith is forged by the goddess of water, and the water spirit kings are the ones who will make it real. This is a gigantic lore bomb for Nagi, because he's not just some legend, he's the water spear king these people are literally out here worshipping. He's stuck there, sweating buckets and fidgeting like crazy, while everyone around him gushes about how divine his aura is. Marina catches him pausing mid-bite and shoots him a look. Are you already full? She slips in the truth. She's been saving the leftovers so the kids won't be stuck with scraps, and they'll all get a proper meal when everyone comes back tomorrow. Her dedication lights a fire under those orphans, and they promise to bust their tails twice as hard to help her. Marina's eyes spill over with tears as their support hits her hard. She finally realizes she isn't battling this war by herself. Nagi stares at this sweet little moment, and then it hits him. Their real deity is counting on him to step in. Late that night, Marina begs the Spirit King for protection while she prays with all her heart. Maggie finally decides she can't stand by anymore and steps in. He kicks his power on, and suddenly water droplets whirl around in the air like they're obeying him. Marina is in full shock, struggling to even breathe as she realizes a powerful spirit is materializing right in her room. Nagi, channeling the water spirit, leans in and tells her he's been shattered, in the best way, by her selfless deeds. He hands her a spirit stone, a top-tier artifact worth a fortune, the kind of prize people dream about. He tells her his biggest wish is for the kids to be happy, then pushes her to sell the stone right now. Marina can't believe her luck. She bows so low it's almost reverent, then asks how she could possibly ever repay a favor this divine. Naga's message is crystal clear. Protect the kids, love them with all your heart, and that's how you'll finally repay him. The very next morning, Neji and his crew geared up and got ready to roll out. He leans in and drops one final, heart-stirring encouragement to Marina, telling her to keep pushing and give it everything she's got. As they head out, Marina looks like someone hit the reset button on her whole life. Brighter, sharper, and more determined than ever. Nagi checks in with the crew, cutting straight to the point. What's the next move? Gon and Shawnees have been hustling for intel at the guild, double-checking the weather and scouring the roads to be sure no violent monsters are lying in wait. They even snagged a mansion for the next 3 days, so the whole team can finally kick back and live like royalty in pure luxury. Right when things finally start turning around, that same creepy crow pops up in the trees and starts watching Nagi like it's hunting him. The bird actually talks, straight up telling him we'll meet again soon. Naga's thrown off the rails, staring in total disbelief at that bizarre thing and trying to make sense of what it even was. The crow rockets toward a mysterious room, and inside, a hidden figure keeps eyes locked on every single move. This mysterious boss stalks Nagi through a crystal ball, straight up exposing the one secret he thought was buried. And it turns out they're a reincarnator from Japan. Neji and Gand are tracing the path to the lake when everything suddenly spirals out of control. The guild is buzzing like crazy. People swear monsters along the highway are going hyper-aggressive. Things get downright tense the moment they say a black dragon was spotted hovering over the neighboring town. This isn't some throwaway trash mob. Dragons are noble, and they barely ever show themselves to humans. Gon realizes that if he walks away right now, he could seriously endanger every kid under his care. Suddenly, the guild staff yells for everyone to drop what they're doing and crowd around the bulletin board. The receptionist looks like she's seconds away from panic as she blurts out that monster activity is exploding. After digging into every detail, they finally admit it. This is way uglier than anyone first imagined. This isn't some little scuffle. This is full-on monster rampage or a deadly stampede waiting to blow everything up. To keep the town from getting crushed, the guild is calling in every adventurer rank 5 and higher. No excuses, they need you on the front lines. They're dangling a fat 100,000 loss reward to anyone who dares to join the subjugation squad. Nagi doesn't even stall. He asks Gon straight up if he's ready to hit the front lines. He urges the others to hold the line, keep the kids protected, and let them take on the dangerous heavy work. Yand can't help but panic when Nagi throws himself straight into the fire. But Nagi just flashes that calm MC grin and tells him, straight up, it's the only way to break through and clear the road for their journey. He's basically speedrunning the whole quest, so everyone else can finally breathe easy and feel safe. They rush into the registration area, and right there, a huge crowd of players is already packed tight and waiting. Nagi spots Frio, an elf so jumpy to her bones that the wild spirit aura pouring off him practically makes her flinch. Right as they draw near, a rank 4 pugilist named Fail steps up like he's itching to start a full-on fight. Nagi cracks a smile and introduces himself as a rank 4 water mage. Then you realize his stats are straight up unreal. Guildmaster Jild strides onto the stage, slams the moment to a halt, and demands absolute silence. He snaps that if you can't keep your mouth shut, you need to storm out of the lobby right now. The room's vibe drops like a stone, everyone goes deadly still, waiting for the reveal. He drops the bomb, and right then an androidator barrels straight toward the town. Just the name alone sends seasoned adventurers into full-blown panic. This beast is a sub-dragon, 10 meters of raw violence, called the Gluttonous Demon, and it crawls across the earth like a starving nightmare. That terrifying high-level threat is what's driving all the other monsters to scatter, because nobody wants to stay within reach. They're setting up a defensive line to slam that tank to a stop before it bulldozes into the residential zones. Jill admits it's slow, but if it crosses that line, the damage will stay forever. Then the heavy hitters start introducing themselves. First up is Narj, a rank 2 spearman who looks like an absolute tank. Then the twins Luo and Nia step in and take over the healing and magic swordsman spots. Frio goes to introduce himself, but the guy is trembling so hard he might as well be vibrating through his own boots. He's a spirit magic user, and just being anywhere near Nagi has his fear screaming in full panic. The guildmaster slaps down the intel reports to kick the squad into full theory crafting mode. First Iron Gate Reform School. Every member snatches a sheet and huddles over it, mapping the boss's attack patterns like their lives depend on it. Nagi and his fresh party huddle over the data, and the truth hits hard. They're staring at a mess, not an easy win. Narj steps forward and pushes for it. Pick a raid leader right now. The whole crew decides they need a heavy hitter, someone high-ranked with serious charm, before they wipe out for good. Most veteran adventurers freeze up with nerves and refuse to step into the lead. Failed immediately throws the nomination to Narj, praising just how smoothly he's been running the group. The rest of the squad immediately backs him up and commits to the play. Narj scans the room for any objections, because a rank 1 player is right there and the stakes just shot up. To a roaring round of applause, Narj is officially crowned the raid leader. Nagi can't wait to see how those top-tier adventurers lock in and coordinate as a team. He chooses to keep his real power locked up tight, until things blow up into a full-on emergency. As the meeting wraps up, Narge leans in and reminds everyone, the real fight kicks off tomorrow. Frio, still lost in Nagi hype, steps up and offers the crew a place to crash at his own home. Nagi tries to politely wave it off, but his friends are already waiting for him. But Frio won't hear of it. He drags the entire crew to his gigantic estate. When they finally make it back, Philly is straight up losing his mind, because Nagi just signed himself up for a suicide mission. Gan just shrugs it off because he knows he can't fight Naga's sincere eyes, even if he tried. Right then, Frio and Fail burst through the door, stepping in to escort our boy straight to the mansion. Nagi leans in, lays out everything to Philly, and then unveils his brand new comrades. Failure just means you're along for the ride, laughing through it all like it's fate. Frio is absolutely thrilled. Nog is right there under his roof, and having someone of that caliber makes him genuinely feel honored. Later that night, the girls can't stop wondering, why does Frio treat Nagi like a real-life god? Nagi drops the gatekeeping act, spills the real truth. He's the legendary spirit of water. He lays out his mission to reach the lake, and spills the real reason he's standing between the danger and those kids. Frio gets knocked straight into tears because Nagi shows him mercy. Fail finally clicks. Nagi's mysterious presence wasn't random at all. It all makes sense now. She finally cracks and admits the truth. She tailed him because she could tell he wasn't some random traveler. They clasp hands and swear to crush the subjugation, so Nagi can finally reach his destination. The next morning, the kids and Philly lean in and wave them off, hands clasped tight as they pray the road treats everyone safely. With his trusted comrades standing shoulder to shoulder, Nagi charges out to take on the dragon. Everyone's sweating through their clothes, because the Adantator extermination is finally about to happen. The magic unit slides into position, yanks the aggro for the team, and backs the front lines while everyone else rushes to set up the defensive perimeter. Nagi isn't just hanging around. He's already setting up a whole battlefield with some seriously high-tier terraforming. He moves water and earth like it's nothing, no lag at all, then slams them together to carve out a massive disruption zone. He slams down a massive marshland trap that screams environmental hazard, and ruins any boss's day the second it hits the ground. This ground is naturally clay-like. Step on it once, and once it hardens, it'll trap anyone who dares to fall into it. With the magic circles ready to ignite and the defensive line locked in, the air turns thick. Everyone's holding their breath for what's coming next. The squad gets hit with orders to rest, because the scout swears the real raid kicks off at sunrise. While Nog is just relaxing, the twins Neo and Luo come barreling up, eyes wide with pure starstruck awe at his magic. They've got a serious request lined up, and the second this mission clears, they're coming for him right when he's free. They toss out a chilling message, "There's someone we need you to meet." Nagi couldn't sit still. She was itching to figure out who in the world sent that secret invite. These two are so desperate they drop to their knees, and plead with him to agree to the meeting. Nagi whips his eyes around the room, hunting for a single red flag, then stops, stunned, because everything screams 100% legit. He nods and agrees to meet their contact, but right now he's got to lock in for tomorrow's main event. Morning arrives, and the ground starts pounding so hard it feels like the whole map is getting tilted off its axis. A giant mountain-sized foot crashes down like thunder, and you know the attentator is here. This hulking idiot is barreling straight into town like a living wrecking ball. It rips through rock walls like they're soaked paper, roaring with a brutally terrifying power that's all raw, unstoppable force. The boss charges straight at Naga's marshland trap like he owns the battlefield. The second it steps in, the team pounces, right on cue for the ambush. That giant turtle plunges into the mud, totally trapped, like it's finally been snagged by a CC chain. Some trash mobs in the party swagger like it's over, but the veteran hunters glare back because they know this fight is only just getting started. The beast charges straight through the mud, and the mages have no choice but to trigger the explosive mines. A colossal blast rips through the area, hurling debris into the air like the sky is breaking. Even Nagi has to throw up his defenses when the shockwaves rip through, as the battlefield turns into a full-on war zone. When the smoke finally clears, the monster is still standing strong, completely unshaken by that burst of damage. The whole squad starts freaking out, screaming, "What?" because even this isn't working. The attentator rips loose a thunderous roar that doesn't just scare. It inflicts real physical damage, smashing the defensive barriers into pieces. Nagi snaps to the truth that the front line is about to be erased, so he slams his hand down and conjures a colossal water vortex in an instant. "Forget the wall, I've built a barrier," he roars, stepping forward to take on the defense alone. With the MC staying ice cold, the physical attackers rush in and try to smack him with a barrage of hits. They hacked and slashed with giant blades and heavy axes, hunting for the one crack in that unbreakable armor. They're swinging for the fences with crushing heavy strikes, but the boss's health bar barely twitches. Nagi watches it all spiral out of control fast. That monster's roar is so busted and brutal it straight up knocks the lower-level adventurers clean off their feet. Frio, the elf mage, realizes the trade is slipping away, and with panic in their chest, they slam down a colossal golem to buy themselves precious time. Right now, this battered tank thunders into the boss, smashing forward just to keep the line from breaking. It slams in with a bone-crushing hit, but the attentator's just too jacked to get knocked around. The golem gets completely smashed in one brutal counterattack, and Frio and the others are left totally exposed. The monster gathers power, then barrels forward for a finishing strike that would have wiped the whole lobby clean. But Nagi strides in with a cool face and tells Frio, "Relax, I've got the rest." Mana surges wildly from him, and a colossal water dragon starts forming right before his eyes. A water spirit looms over the battlefield, blasting out a god-tier aura like it owns the sky. Nagi unleashes the spell, and the dragon rockets forward with instant, terrifying speed. Boom, direct hit. A towering blast of water slams into the attentator and just smashes through its defenses in an instant. The beast gets swallowed whole by a raging vortex of raw elemental power, spiraling around it like the world is breaking apart. The moment the rain pours down, the dust finally settles, and that beast is wiped out for good. The wounded hunters jolt awake, stunned because that mystical rain isn't just falling on them, it's stitching them back together. Nobody can believe it. One top-tier boss just got wiped out like it was nothing. They're scrambling for answers, totally lost, while you just flexed and proved that power. Our boy grabs a spirit stone, freezes his real identity behind locked lips and dares to call it just luck, like he didn't plan every single move. He leans in and says, "I swear, the great spirit of water took pity on me and stepped in." And the whole group eats it up instantly. They sprint back to the guild and throw a huge victory feast to celebrate their win. Gant is the only one missing, because right now he's passed out at Frio's place, absolutely dying from a hangover. After the quest ends, Naga's mind snaps back to his promise to the twins. They shoved him toward the edge of town, bragging that their master has eyes on his every move. They crash into a secluded cabin swallowed by the woods, oddly humble for someone who's supposedly so important. But right as they near the door, Neo and Lua suddenly spill the truth. This isn't a normal entrance at all, it's a magic gate. They kick on a high-level teleportation circle, and the whole room erupts in blinding light. Nagi steps in and there it is. A massive grand hall and a mysterious figure waiting like they've been expecting him. A grizzled old man with a legendary beard steps forward and greets him like royalty, declaring him the great spirit of water. Then boom, he drops the ultimate lore bomb, ripping open Naga's real name from his past life. Sayajima Nagi, isn't that it? The whole room tightens like a trap just as the old man slams down a massive lore bomb, revealing he knows our boy's real original name was Sayajima Nagi. Before Nagi can even wrap his head around how that sage found his secret, the old man snaps his fingers and starts weaving glowing kanji in midair, revealing who he really is. Turns out he's not some random NPC at all. He's a fellow Japan-born guy, Agatsuma Yuuki. That reveal hits so hard it's like he's flexing premium gacha effects just to blow in and steal the spotlight. He stands there like a legendary tier unit, and finally slaps a name onto the face everyone's been wondering about. Fail completely snaps, screaming Japanese like she just spotted a glitch in the Matrix. Twin brothers Luo and Neo get straight up shooed away to go play, while all the adults huddle around and trade stories. But the sage isn't trying to ruin the fun. He snaps his fingers, and boom, a full-blown high tea set materializes out of nowhere, blasting Nagi off guard as the physics engine basically throws in the towel. Turns out that legendary sage act is just a scary mask. Step past that intimidating aura and he's way more playful than you'd ever expect. As they're sipping tea, the sage leans in and drops jaw-dropping timeline lore. He reveals he's been in this world for around 300 years, serving as the Sage of Foresight. Back in Japan, he was just some normal businessman. Until bam, he got yanked into another world with zero warning. And this is where the math starts frying my brain. Nagi blasts off from Earth in 2033, but the sage somehow left way earlier in 2024. Even though he's only 9 years older on Earth, this sage has been grinding through this world for centuries. It's a wild time distortion. 9 years pass in our world, but in this one it's a staggering 300. The whole spacetime continuum just stutters, like an absolute brutal lag spike hit reality. The sage drops the bombshell. Nagi isn't just some random reincarnator, he's the fourth one to land on this server, and yeah, he's the most cracked of them all. But he leans in and drops the truth. Every few decades, people from Japan come crawling out like destiny itself, ready to stir up change as agents. It's basically the universe yanking the remote and forcing a brand new update, just to keep the whole story from getting stale. For years, he's been using his foresight to clock Naga's arrival the moment it's coming. Remember that creepy crow that kept stalking our boy? Turns out that bird was the sage reaching out to make contact. He rushes to apologize, because that spiritual connection felt like trying to stream a video on 1 bar of Wi-Fi. Nagi finally clocks it. The bird isn't dangerous at all, it's just a painfully laggy messenger. Hearing smartphone again after all this time absolutely guts Nagi right in the feels. Then we rip into the other players. First up is Takashi Matoba, a legendary hero who built an entire kingdom before his death. He was the MVP of his whole era. So dominant he went and founded the Takasol Kingdom. And then there's this other dude, chilling on a tropical island like he owns the sun, while everyone else is stuck doing all the hard work. That clash is wild. One guy is trying to build a whole nation, while the other only wants to kick back into a never-ending vacation. Things flip from weird to dangerous the moment the sage pulls Neji aside and demands a huge favor about the twins. Turns out Neo and Lua aren't just random mages at all. They're the last surviving princes from Lunatia, a once mighty magic kingdom that got wiped off the map. It was buzzing with life until 18 years ago, someone erased the entire place from the map. The sage has kept them hidden, and raised them in secret ever since that old friend dropped them into his arms as helpless infants. These kids are basically a straight-up high-skill sealing squad. They can't pull off magic on their own, but the second they team up, their power clicks together and they unleash massive spells that usually take an entire raid squad. The sage begs Nagi to take them on his journey, because after living cut off from everyone, their social skills are totally fried. He's peered into the future and he's dead sure of one thing. Nagi is the key that lets them weave ties with everyone else. He even bows to our boy, and you can tell he truly cares about how his student grows. Seeing the legendary sage choke up like that proves he's not some cold-blooded mastermind after all. And Nagi realizes how deeply the sage loves these two, and before she can stop herself, she can't bring herself to refuse. Right then and there, he makes a vow, because with this insane power in his hands, he's going to use it to save everyone he can reach. It's a full-on protagonist win that leaves the sage staring at him like, "Thank you, I really mean it." Right before they set off, the sage drops some serious pro tips and tells Nagi to teach the other kids magic too. Then the real gut punch hits. He has to say goodbye. The twins have made it official. They're joining the party and they swear Negi in as their new master. The sage leans in and tells them, "Don't worry, you can always teleport back to visit, so it's not a permanent goodbye at all." The kids finally break into smiles and it hits them. This wild new adventure is really about to begin. The sage shifts his gaze to Fi, grilling her like, "So you're really coming with Nagi or not?" He can tell she isn't just staying. She's got her own secret reasons holding her here. Nagi doesn't feel a single trace of malice from her, so he's totally fine with her tagging along. Fail totally freaks out, blurting that she's only tagging along to stop Nagi from getting his way again. It's totally classic Sunder behavior, and somehow the whole crew just laughs like it's no big deal. The sage stands there as they vanish into the distance, quietly praying that joy finally catches up to our boy on his journey. Luo, Neo, and Fail all jump in, and just like that, the new party is officially formed. Fail is already winning over the younger kids, acting just like a big sister. Even the twins are slowly starting to open up, but they're still bracing themselves every time people point out, over and over, that they've got the exact same face and hair. Nagi leans in and thanks Frio for every bit of help. Then Frio, as promised, hands her a water spirit to serve as her familiar. Once it's all settled, they slam the wagon shut, grab their stuff, and roll straight toward the next town. But the mood flips in an instant. Boom. The scene cuts to a grim wasteland where humans finally net a black dragon and haul it in glowing chains. This is straight-up nightmare fuel, and it's not even remotely happy about being trapped in a cage. It snarls a guttural curse and vows to wipe out every human standing in its way. If this is what Nog is about to face in the next zone, then our boy better strap in, because the next boss fight is gonna be brutal. The party finally rolls up to Mariel, a loud, thriving city perched right on the border. After a grueling month of travel, Neji finally slams the brakes and calls it, "We're camping here for 10 days, so everyone can refill their stamina bars." While the rest of the squad crashes into sleep, Naga's internal radar starts screaming with a crushing sense of dread. He leans toward the window and spots a towering vortex of dark energy spinning through the night sky like it's alive. The videos are totally finished. Nagi can already feel a brutal wave of pain and pure hatred blasting out from where it's coming from. He's burning with curiosity, but he refuses to ditch his companions. He won't go solo unless he keeps them safe. He makes a full-on pro-gamer play, then summons a powerful water spirit to clamp down and hold the fort. This tiny ball of power is Suiko, and the second she sees Nagi, she cheerfully calls him father before snapping into her place. Once the base is locked down, Nagi slips into the night, stalking that ominous presence straight to the basement of a nearby mansion. He realizes the target isn't just locked away. It's buried deep underground, protected by layer after layer of magical security. Nagi has zero time for a stealth build, so he just smashes the barrier like it's glass and moves on. He dives straight into the pit's darkest depths and slams face first into a real-life nightmare. A horrifying giant monster is locked down in blazing, glowing chains, and its aura roars with raw, unstoppable power. It's a dark dragon, and even battered and weakened, the pressure it unleashes is absolutely unreal. The beast throws his name out, Diazadis, while Nagi stays cool as ice and quietly reveals he's a true spirit of water. This beefy beast is at his breaking point. He's admitting he's out of strength. Even his wings can't flap anymore. He tells them he once lived in the demon abyss, until humans hit him with a dirty trick. While he was out hunting, they stole his egg and turned it into bait, then baited him straight into a trap. Now he's bogged down in dragon-like shackles while cursed spells gnaw away at his soul, piece by cursed piece. The dragon was shattered beyond repair, gasping out his last breath, begging Nagi to rescue my child from those arrogant humans. Nagi refuses to let that legendary beast get wiped like some trash mob, so he steps in and offers to mend wounds that should be impossible to heal. Diazadis swears it's impossible, but Nagi's magic is on another level. He heals the dragon's health in the blink of an eye. The dragon locks eyes with him like it just witnessed a gacha god drop out of the sky. Nagi doesn't stop. He snatches the legendary shackles and yanks them out of the ground with zero hesitation. Diaz Otis is drenched in sweat from the sheer force of this spirit, because it just shrugged off a cursed seal like it was nothing. Nagi doesn't even waste a second hunting for stairs. He just smashes a massive hole straight through the mansion's roof to escape. As they rocket into the sky, Nagi has to snap at the blazing dragon. Don't you dare wreck the town, because his friends are still crashed there, fast asleep. They blast toward the palace in the next city, where that egg is being held captive. Nagi knows if that dragon charges, he'll yank the attention straight back to himself and get captured again, so he storms in alone, using his spirit form. He shrinks into a tiny drop of water and sneaks past the top-tier guards patrolling the halls. He slips into the treasury, and bam, the twist hits harder than a trapdoor. Not one but two eggs are hidden inside. Neji realizes he can't slip the eggs through walls the way he does with his own body, so he snaps into action and decides to guard them both. He creates a wild diversion by smashing the treasury with a full-on flood, then rides a literal tidal wave out of the building like it's a surf contest. He hooks up with the dragon, hands over the loot, and then Diaz Oda notices something off, like the world just shifted. One of the eggs is rumored to be Narsha's, the black sacred beast everyone whispers about, a creature said to unleash insane wealth and rocket its owner straight to fame. Then out of nowhere, the egg erupts in a blinding glow and starts sucking up Naga's mana. As they trek back toward town, the dragon turns to him and blurts out, "How in the world am I supposed to repay a debt this massive?" Nagi just smirks, like he's already plotting the perfect move for his brand new dragon ally. Nagi and the cat girl spot it instantly, The town is blaring so loud it feels like it's pushing in on them. Our boy catches the wrong energy fast and tells everyone to ditch the plan. Head to the lake way earlier than they were supposed to. Philly's sweating through every detail, panicking over the logistics, because crossing the border without a permit feels like a guaranteed death sentence for everything they've planned. Nagi isn't even phased. He cracks the whip, hands out quests, and orders the squad to split up and lock down a full month's worth of food. He throws Luo and Neo onto the grind, hunting high-tier materials like crazy so they can build 3 massive houses for the whole crew. While Philly hustles the others into fresh gear, Nagi dares aggro with the toughest job yet, tracking down real professional builders. He storms straight into the guild, praying he'll snag a master carpenter who doesn't flinch at the idea of relocating. As he strides down the streets, his high-level perception starts buzzing and tingling like it's on the edge of something big. He suddenly feels a sickening surge of tainted energy and raw malice oozing out of the nearby buildings. A shadowy aura clings to him so tightly it feels visible, and it reeks of raw, pure corruption. He suddenly starts catching psychic echoes from demi-humans, people who were illegally turned into slaves. The word slave slams into him like a debuff, and his face instantly goes ice cold. He suddenly realizes the screams under his feet aren't from echoes at all. People are trapped beneath him, wasting away in some hidden dungeon. A sudden mental flash hits him, terrified kids screaming for help, and that's the one line our boy absolutely can't cross. Without even blinking, Nagi unleashes his spirit powers and phases clean through the pavement. He winds up in a dark, filthy sewer maze that looks exactly like a top-tier prison blueprint. That dead, unmoving air screams one thing: if you're trapped in here, you're in a total nightmare. Most of the humans crammed in those cages look like they're straight-up trash mobs, like the dungeon itself threw them in there. Then he spots an elf and a dwarf, their energy so pure it screams the truth, proving they got framed. The elf prisoner catches the Nagi spirit forming gasps, and a great spirit appears. He begs for salvation, and his voice cracks apart with raw, helpless desperation. The whole dungeon goes wild the moment the news spreads. Some massive spirit has just appeared. A huge, dumb brute in the next cell barks at him to shut up, and acts like the innocent prisoners are nothing but trash. Nagi wastes zero time. He snaps a concentrated blast of water at the guy, blasting him into silence. He rips his physical form into existence, starts smashing the locks, shushing everyone with a sharp command, someone's coming. The dwarf is utterly stunned, then forces himself to admit it, free or not, they still have nowhere to go. Nagi flashes a smug grin and fires off the big question: if you had somewhere to go, would you really run away? The dwarf finally clocks that Nagi isn't playing around, then blurts out that he'll do anything to escape this hole. He tells them they've already lost it all, and there's not a shred of hope left that they'll survive out there. He rages that our homeland got ripped away from us, then thrusts his hands forward, hands made for the forge, not for suffering. Natty lays out his plan for the lake, then offers them a place in his brand new village. He tosses out a line so bold it could crown any protagonist: if you've got no homeland, then we'll build one. And yeah, he throws in that classic gotcha gamer greed, admitting he doesn't want anything noble at all. He just wants them to build him those huge houses. The prisoners are drowning in gratitude, and even the fluffiest demi-humans can't resist begging to jump into the party. Out of nowhere, the real criminal starts howling for a carry, swearing they can build too. They look so pathetic, practically pleading with Nagi to drag them out of the punishment they earned. The dwarf grabs Naga's attention and warns her to steer clear. Those guys are heavy criminal slaves, and getting near them is asking for trouble. Nagi sweeps the room with his eyes and spots one guy in the back, someone with a heart so pure it almost shines. He slips straight through the bars, then grills the guy, like, why in the world is someone like him trapped in a place like this? The poor guy finally cracks. His best friend framed him for the crime, then robbed him blind and stole his girl. Maggie decides the punishment is already done and snaps, "You've suffered enough, get out of here." He yanks the innocent guy in clothes and lines up his next strike, while the other criminals howl like maniacs. Nagi unleashes a monstrous tidal wave, and with one brutal sweep, he blasts his brand new crew out of the dungeon. Trash mobs slam and grind against the bars, totally baffled. Why won't fate let them catch a break? Nagi glances back with cold zero pity and snaps, "You brought this on yourselves." He ditches him with a chilling reminder: they can't dodge this, pay up for the real crimes. The crew finally bursts out of there, gulping in the fresh air of town like they just escaped a nightmare. The dwarf is already buzzing with hype, swearing he'll build Nagi as many houses as he wants in their brand new homeland. Even the rabbit and cat demi-humans are raring to go, ready to put in the work and repay his kindness with real action. Nagi finally gets it. He's not just helping them, he's basically taken in an entire village with nowhere else to go. He tells them it's all good, then locks in a promise: he'll introduce them to his other companions next. When the main group spots the refugees, Philly and the girls get hit so hard by their tragic backstories that tears spill fast. Nagi whips her attention to the poisonous miasma crawling through town, and realizes the clock is already running out. Philly watches the local merchants start shutting down and packing up their shops early, like they already know things will collapse the moment the logistics fully breaks. Nagi decides this is it. One last day in town to grab every daily necessity they'll need before it all ends. The sun claws up over their final morning, and the whole town feels like a haunted lobby waiting for the lights to die. Foot traffic is drying up fast, and Nagi realizes even his gold can't stretch the way it used to. Out of nowhere, a booming voice slices through the quiet street, shouting that the shop is minutes from closing. Nagi's just browsing a local shop when Almina, the merchant, sweeps in and welcomes him like he belongs there. The whole place is bursting at the seams. Everything from everyday loot to rare, high-tier magical artifacts. Suddenly, the crystal ball on the shelf bursts into glowing light like it's about to reach max power. Almina leans in and says this rare item is built to wake up the moment it senses spirits nearby. The brighter the light burns, the closer and way more powerful the spirit really is. The ball bursts into full-on chaos, unleashing a blinding flash that almost turns the entire shop into pure white. Almina's jaw drops because the thing basically morphs into a tiny sun. Caught with nowhere left to run, he finally blurts the truth. Wait, I'm not who you think. I'm a great spirit and I'm seriously powerful. Almina's mind can't take it. Her thoughts overload and she faceplants hard onto the floor. After a heartbeat, she finally opens her eyes, and the truth hits her so hard she's left completely dazed. Once she steadies herself, she can't stop wondering why a powerful spirit is hanging out in a human shop. Nagi lays out their plan to move to the lake, and Almina immediately realizes they'll need a serious supply line just to keep the daily essentials flowing. She doesn't blink straight up and asks, "If that's the plan, then why don't you hand all the logistics to me?" She finally lets the truth slip. She was planning to shut down the shop today because she was moving anyway. She practically throws herself at him, pleading, "Please, Lord Nagi, let me Almina join you." To sweeten the deal, she promises to tag along with every single item in her inventory as a bonus. The moment the merchant class unlocked, Almina wastes no time. She officially slides into the party the very next day. The crew finally ditches Mariel and rockets into the forest, pushing deeper and deeper toward their brand new base. While everyone else panics about pushing past the border, Nagi drops a bold line. He's not wandering at all, he's heading to meet someone truly special. Suddenly, a colossal shadow slams across the sky, and everyone's spine tingles with pure terror. A colossal black dragon crashes down from the sky, and the raw power blasting off it throws the whole party into panic, like their bones just felt it. This creature's size is downright nightmare fuel, and everyone else loses it, screaming in full-blown panic when they lay eyes on a legendary black dragon. Everybody knows it. This is the same monster that's been stalking the region and terrorizing everyone lately. But Nagi steps in without a shake, calm as steel, and explains that Diathotis was never the villain. He was just trying to get back the child humans stole. The dragon dips its head and addresses them straight on. "I came today to repay Nagi for saving my life and my child." Nagi locks onto that dragon's gigantic eye and boom. He realizes he just found the ultimate fast travel ride. The whole crew drops into a dead faint from pure shock, so the dragon snaps a giant water bubble into place, scooping everyone up and hauling them to safety. They launch into the sky, cutting through the clouds like there's absolutely zero lag. Diathotes swings by to check on Nagi, making sure the flight doesn't turn rough. While everyone else dropped like a stone, tiny Yona stayed awake, staring straight into the dragon's face and realizing, somehow, those massive eyes were almost gentle. Nagi blurts out that a dark elf family is camped by the lake, waiting for them, especially hoping you'll hit it off with their boy Helio. Yona's cheeks are blazing. She's finally got a real place to call home, and you can practically feel her excitement explode. As they hack through the trail line, the dragon's eyes lock onto their destination. Yona's eyes flare the moment she spots the water and she gasps, "Amazing, it's beautiful." The dragon glides down with terrifying grace, then touches down on the very shoreline of Lord Neji's lake. Diathotis finally wipes the slate clean, telling Nagi, "I kept my promise," as her debt is officially paid. Neji gives her a huge thank you for the assist, then takes off like a streak of light and rides straight into the sunset. When the fainted trash mobs finally snap back to their senses, the whole crew regroups by the wagons. Right then, dark elves Etna and Helio burst out of the brush, stunned because their lord had come back. They've been holding their breath, waiting for him to come back, yet the crowd he dragged in has them totally baffled. The moment the humans show up, the elves snap into full defensive mode. Nagi steps up and backs them with full confidence, promising, "They're good people, no one's coming for you, not a single bit." Gan kicks things off as the party starts introducing themselves, and Shaunus follows right after. Almina and Felix step in too, and they spill how Nagi pulled them back from a truly dark fate. Nagi marched up to the elves and asked, Can all of you live together by the lake? Etna breaks into a grin, fully agreeing that teaming up is the only way forward. He brings everyone to his place for tea and gives them the full, proper welcome. Nagi turns to Etna and thanks her from the bottom of his heart. Like the gacha gods finally smiled down and handed him a team worth believing in. Yona rockets up to Helio right away and introduces herself on the spot. She even drags her little brother, Rudo, along so he can jump into the fun with her. The moment they meet, the connection clicks instantly. Everything feels warm, safe, and straight-up wholesome. Even the toughest-looking members of the crew are striking up real connections with the locals. But Nagi spots monsters wheeling overhead. And the moment he clocks what's going on, he realizes this huge crowd could yank aggro from everything else nearby too. He slaps his palm onto the water and summons his power through it. He slams down a huge protective barrier, sealing off every threat that tries to come in and hurt him. With the defense system humming, the elves burst into celebration, announcing a massive feast to welcome their master's return. As the moon climbs higher, the celebration erupts and goes full blast. You've got dwarves, elves, and humans all packed together at the table, drinking hard and laughing like there's no tomorrow. And there he stands, grinning at what he's built, the community he forged with his own hands. Yona rushes over to him and asks, "Did you get enough to eat?" He leans in and tells her, all fired up, that he couldn't be happier, because somehow everyone's finally become best friends. The kids are already buzzing about fishing tomorrow, but Nagi slams in and warns them, "Stay inside the barrier." Yona stares at him with total awe, and she thanks him for busting his butt for everyone. Nagi smirks, and you can practically feel how hard her gratitude is hitting him through the contract mark on their skin. She flashes him one last adorable smile, then sprints off to play with Helio. The moment he's finally alone, exhaustion slams into him like a wrecking ball, and he mutters, "I think I pushed myself a little too far." He dives into the water to refill his mana and get his power back. He figures he can just sneak in a quick power nap to recharge and get his strength back. He slips into the dark depths, convinced he'll just catch a quick nap before snapping back. Suddenly, Yona's voice cuts through the water and calls his name. He cracks his eyes open, heart racing, wondering if the sun has already risen. He bursts out of the water, waves at Yona, and tells her how absolutely wild and fun that feast was. But Yona suddenly looks nothing like herself, reaching for him with tears streaming down her face. Naga's standing there totally thrown off. She's somehow way taller than he remembers, and it hits him like whiplash. And that's when she drops the bombshell that'll leave you in a full-on daze. 3 years have passed. Naga's reeling hard because the news just hit him. He's been gone for 3 whole years. Turns out the time skip absolutely him while he was out cold, stealing those magical dreams like they were going out of style. Yona is basically in tears, begging me to believe how every single day he spent his time panicking, terrified that something terrible had struck. He's convinced Nagi pushed himself to the breaking point just to save them. And just like that, Nagi clicks every piece into place. Because fighting those giant monsters and keeping that hulking lake barrier standing has clearly wiped his mana pool clean out to 0. But the wait finally ends, and Yona hits him with the sweetest, most wholesome welcome back imaginable. Our boy clocks it instantly. Yona's not a kid anymore, he's grown up fast and his stats just skyrocketed. Yona tells him to shut his eyes, because this huge surprise is about to blow everything wide open. When Nagi finally peeks up, he's hit with a mansion so massive it makes his old home look like a trash mob's hut. The villagers pulled off a full-on flex, making sure their savior didn't just save them, he had a real home to live in. Nagi hesitates over the luxury for a second, but then he steps into his brand new base anyway. The dwarves didn't just decorate, they went full out, turning the inside into pure masterpiece. But then Nagi's eyes lock onto something far bigger, an egg sitting up on a pedestal. He feels absolutely crushed for abandoning this poor little guy all by himself for 3 whole years. The second his fingers make contact, he freezes. Because those gacha gods aren't just teasing him, they're smiling so hard he can feel a real heartbeat pulsing from inside. Yona tells them the whole village crowds around that egg every single day, taking turns talking to it like it's alive. When Nagi asks about the monster attacks, Yona shrugs it off and casually says Philly and Suiko took care of the patrols. Suddenly, a face he knows slips out of thin air right in front of him. Suiko greets him with a bright, sweet good morning, father, and wow, she looks even more majestic than ever. Turns out Suiko stayed behind to guard the lake people, because Yona herself begged her to. This is a huge lore bomb, because when Yona summons and commands a top-tier spirit like Suiko, her spirit magic just got taken to the next level. Nagi is glowing with pride, watching his protege mature from the inside out. But that peaceful moment gets ripped away the second a massive commotion erupts outside. The entire lobby swarms in to welcome him back, and it's total, loud bedlam chaos. Nagi rushes to apologize for vanishing, but the evil elf snaps at him to quit freaking out over little things. They've already whipped up a massive feast, all set to celebrate his awakening. Turns out they were all lurking nearby, just waiting to jump out and blow his mind. Naga's all in for the party and tells Yona, "Invite every other kid too, no one gets left out." The whole town is buzzing, and everyone pours out just to catch a glimpse of their lord in full celebration mode. Etna leans in and tells you the Dark Elves are officially here now, fully settled in, and already helping the fields roar to life with an abundant harvest. Naga's totally unbothered. He flat out says, "If everyone living here decides as one, I've got zero reason to object." This kindness hits so hard it straight up brings the Dark Elves to tears. They slam out fresh, garden-to-table salads that look straight up unreal. They even tell Nagi to swing by the smithy and check out the fresh gear they've been forging. Garud, the beefy dwarf, finally barrels in, ready to greet Nagi with a grin. Nagi thanks him for the house and Garud grins back like, "No, the pleasure was all mine." He admits that every time he helps build homes for the community, that work lights up his life with a fresh, unstoppable sense of fulfillment. This place has exploded from a scrappy camp into a real, proper town people actually respect. The very next day, Nagi steps out and strolls over to check the progress for himself. Yona strides through the streets, and the town looks totally alive and calm as if nothing could ever go wrong. They come barreling into Almina. She's buzzing with hype, dying to show off her brand new shop. They've got a booming economy now, selling top-tier monster materials and trading the loot straight for supplies from the villages nearby. Everyone's quality of life got cranked up to the absolute max. Finally, they hauled ass to the blacksmith to get a look at Garud's newest masterpiece. The smithy looks razor-sharp, and it's stacked to the brim with everything you could ask for. Garud thrusts the blade he's been forging into the light, and Nagi can't help but be blown away on the spot. It's a beautifully crafted dagger that screams pure quality the moment you lay eyes on it. Garivri spills the truth. They've unearthed a vein of mithril underground, and then urges Nagi to lay a blessing on it. Because it was mined right in Naga's domain, he can actually forge it into a legendary item. Nagi unleashes his water magic, and the blade erupts in an otherworldly glow. The dwarves can barely believe what they're seeing. They're totally blown away by the display. The blessing hit like lightning, and the blade instantly transformed into a real spirit sword. This isn't just some rare pull. It's now sitting among the 10 deadliest weapons in the entire world. Nagi doesn't stop her. He lets Yona grab it, and the spirit energy whipping around that kid is straight up out of control. That aura is so thick it's literally warping the air around it, rippling like heat. Yona gapes at the sheer beauty, but the raw power blasting off it hits so hard that her head starts to spin. Right in the middle of the party, a stranger bursts in with a terrified scream, like everything's gone wrong. It's Luna, and she looks totally swamped with stress. She finally blurts out a mind-blowing truth. There's a dragon's messenger standing outside the barrier. Nagi can't stop staring at the silence, because this time something major, or a threat meant as a warning, is coming straight for him. Neji suddenly comes face to face with a messenger from the Dragonkin village, and that search has been burning for him. The man introduces himself as Danif, confirms Nagi is the Great Spirit, then hits him with a bombshell of bad news. He's hauling a brutal weight on his back, because he's here to carry out the last demand of the Dark Dragon, Lord Diazodus. Our boy gets totally blindsided when they drop the last will, and the moment he hears it, he knows something tragic happened while he was gone. They slip the talk into a private spot, ready to spill the grim truth behind the dragon's passing. Turns out after Negi rescued Diazodus, that dragon ditched the danger and just chilled in the abyss of eternal darkness right by the Dragonkin village. He lived side by side with the villagers in perfect peace, and not a single soul ever had to deal with him. Right then, a guy calling himself an envoy from the kingdom of Luginas rolled up and shouted that Diazodus was an evil dragon, then demanded the villagers turn him over. The Dragonkin aren't the type to snitch, so they flat out refuse the order to betray their friend. That message made the kingdom roll back with a whole army, storming the village to raid it. The Dragonkin knights were holding the line. Then the kingdom's heroes crashed into the fight, tipped the whole battle, and smashed the village to pieces. When Diazoda saw his friends get crushed, he finally stepped in and unleashed his real power to smash the invaders back. Even while the humans fled, the dragon could already feel it. Their return was only a matter of time, bringing wave after wave of trash mobs to spread pain again and again. He figured the only way to save the village was to launch a suicide strike and wipe out the human forces once and for all. He shoved one last request into Danif's hands. If he didn't come back, he better send his child straight to Nagi for protection. With a crushing heart, he handed the fate of his son, Pelagius, straight to the Great Spirit. Back in reality, the aftershock of that brutal fight still hits hard as Dana finally wraps up his story. Suddenly, something inside the basket Danif lugged along starts to squirm and move. Out bursts the cutest little dragon you've ever laid eyes on, Prince Pelagius. The little guy instantly latches onto Nagi, hopping onto his lap on the spot with zero hesitation. It's an absolute cuteness gotcha. he nuzzles Naga's hand like he's sealing the deal. Nagi questions the father's remains, and the villagers hit him with the truth. They gave him a real, proper burial. Nagi stares at that sweet little dragon and his heart just melts. Then he steps forward and thanks the dragonkin for staying loyal to his friend. He solemnly vows to take the kid under his wing and guard him with everything he's got. Denif storms back home and begs Nagi, please keep the prince safe no matter what. A week slips by and Neji goes all in on dad life. No hesitation, vowing he'll raise Buelagius into a legendary dragon. That little powerhouse is bursting with energy, chirping non-stop like he's just itching for action the second it shows up. Every day, Nagi drags him deep into the forest for live combat training, raw battles meant to level him up fast. But they're not alone anymore. Some random slime has been tailing them non-stop. This tiny blob plays janitor, gobbling up every scrap Valacious drops after its hunt. It's way smarter than you'd expect, and it even tries to talk to Nagi using nothing but gestures. Their training blast gets cut short when they spot a huge shadow creeping through the brush. It's a hippogriff, and wow, this one looks like it's got an attitude problem big enough to bite. A savage beast rockets out of the trees, shrieking a savage battle cry straight at our kid. Pelagius doesn't even blink. He slams into the monster in midair with a vicious headbutt. But the hippogriff doesn't just attack. It unleashes a piercing cry that lands a nasty debuff on you. A blast of sound slams into Balaji's chest, and in a blink he's dazed, his body reeling as he fights to stay up in the air. Nagi finally figures out that the cry doesn't just scare, it paralyses, and it's pure agony for a young dragon. He's betting everything on Pelagius's raw stats to carry him through this trial. Even the slime scrambles along the sidelines, trying to hype them up as the tension keeps climbing. The hippogriff snatches the stun and hammers Pelagius into the dirt with a bone-crunching slam. That tiny dragon is pinned to the ground, staring death in the face like someone about to hit delete. Right as Nagi is about to snap and take aggro to end the bird's life, the air shifts, and something feels off. Pelagius' eyes ignite with a horrifying ancient light that feels like it can burn your soul. A massive dark space suddenly erupts, gulping up the whole area and sealing it in total crushing shadow. Nagi feels this crushing weight bearing down on him, because this is the real terrifying power of a dark dragon. The monster realizes it picked the wrong opponent, and as the darkness creeps in, panic detonates in its head. The darkness is so heavy it feels like it's fighting the light itself, and that terrifying aura would crush any normal creature in seconds. When the shadows finally peel away, the only thing left of the hippogriff is a handful of feathers. Pelagius is wheezing on the floor, having stormed through the lobby in one unstoppable sweep. Nagi bursts over to heal his worn-out little warrior right after that intense awakening. He beams with pride and gently pats the dragon on the head like it's earned every bit of that love. Just as Pelagius dives back into his meal, Nagi suddenly feels two familiar presences closing in. Out of nowhere, the twins Neo and Luo suddenly burst into the scene. They told me they were tied up helping their master with magical experiments right there by the lake. Before Nagi even has time to register they're there, they slam him into a gigantic teleportation circle. He's getting yanked away out of nowhere, straight into an abduction with zero warning. He wakes up in a cramped room with an old man, and before anything else, the guy bows his head and apologizes for his student's terrible manners. The old man waves in a surprise guest, Mutuo Hiraki. He smirks and bam, the bombshell drops. He's another reincarnator from Japan, just like Nagi. Hiroaki Mutu sits right across from our boy, and boom, you find out he's a Japan reincarnator too, just like Nagi. Nog is sweating buckets because he's sure he's heard this name somewhere before. Somewhere it won't stop haunting him. They seal it with a handshake and the guy leans in to tell Nagi, just call me Hiramu. This guy's on it. He instantly clocks that Nagi isn't some regular human, but a full-blown great spirit. Hiramu slams down a huge bombshell, admitting that even though he looks human, his real form is a legendary sacred dragon. Then bam, little Bara just pops in like a jump scare to say hi, and Hiramu instantly clocks him as Diazotis, the dark dragon's kid. Hiramu starts praising how rock-solid Diazotis was, but Nagi slams the vibe with some brutal news. Naga's fist tightens as he gears up to deliver a report that's about to sting. Diazotis is gone, passed away, and it hits like a gut punch. Hiramu is totally rattled, and he just can't accept that a top-tier beast like that could get beaten so completely. Nagi reveals that a messenger from Dragonkin Village showed up in person, delivering the grim news face-to-face. Hiromo drops into a seat, looking absolutely shattered by the loss of his old friend. An old man cuts in, grabs the mic, and warns them that the Kingdom of Lagnus is starting to act weird. They're plotting a full-scale war on the Dragonkin Village, and it's coming down fast, like seconds away. To drag the blame onto them and make the invasion sound necessary, the kingdom is waving old disasters around, like that treasury attack as the perfect excuse. They slammed all the blame onto the Dark Dragon, just so they'd finally have a good excuse to go in and take him out. Nagi rips that logic apart, because it was humans who snatched the egg and hit the forbidden magic first. The old man leans in and tells him, "This isn't a simple misunderstanding at all, the truth is way more tangled than you think. Forbidden magic isn't built for human hands. It's a raw power source meant for the underworld. So yeah, this could mean the whole kingdom is getting jerked around by demon puppeteers. These demons are basically ultimate troll kings, rebellious against the gods, wreaking havoc with wicked darkness powers. They hide in the shadows, secretly hunting other races and siphoning their power so they can build strength for themselves." Harama's eyes blazed as he snapped that they had to show the humans what real terror looks like. When you dare make a dragon your enemy. Nagi isn't about to sit there and let a whole village get erased from the map. Haramu nods and agrees right away, remembering the promise he swore, that he'd lend his strength the moment things went south. Nagi wants to jump in and help, but fear gnaws at him. What if the blast splashes onto innocent people trapped in the chaos? The old man nods and says, "Sure, take down those corrupt officials, but you'd better not lay a hand on the citizens." He finally hands them the main quest for this whole arc. Charge straight into the Dragonkin village and hold the line as the Ludginous Kingdom army comes crashing in. Nagi grabs the mission on the spot, and the old man swears he'll sniff out that demon influence in the capital. Hiramu stared at Nagi, respect and guilt warring in his chest. He swallows his pride, apologizes for letting rage take the wheel, and regrets dragging some innocent, unrelated person into this whole nightmare. He's genuinely thankful that Nagi has his back for the fight that's about to explode. Yeah, Nagi just grins, straight up saying he hasn't felt unrelated a second since he met Diazotas and brought Barages into his life. He's on a mission to shield the little guy's homeland, and to honor the dragon's dying wishes, the one who saved him. Hiramu smirks, clocking that Nagi is seriously broad-minded, just like Yuuki warned him. Said it's time to move out. Then the air starts shimmering like it's packed with massive, raw power. Giant white wings unfurl wide, flashing in the light as they're seconds from taking off. Hiramu rips off the disguise and reveals his real body. A majestic white dragon, the kind that looks like it straight up bosses the whole game. Nagi clambers onto his back for instant, zero-lag travel, and Baragius rockets alongside them through the sky. They look like a legendary crew charging headfirst into a high-level zone, like nothing can stop them. Before he leaves for good, Nagi rounds up the elves and lays it all out. Why he must head to the Dragonkin village. He's determined to keep this town out of the chaos while he's gone. Little Yona takes a step forward and pleads with Nagi, begging him to finally let her come with him this time. She's been grinding her stats like crazy, and now she's saying she can finally go toe-to-toe with the spirit sword. Nagi slips in a soft head pat and you can tell she's seeing it. This girl has grown strong in both body and spirit. But instead of dragging her into a war zone, he summons her to a whole new role, ultimate defender of the town while he's gone. Yona grabs the mission with steel in her eyes, swearing she'll keep everyone safe while Nagi is away. Up in the air again, Nagi shot back to Borgias that he only pushed Yona out of the fight so she'd stay safe. Baragius is being a total sweetheart, nuzzling Nagi while they streak through the clouds like a dream. Nagi admits he wrestled with the idea of bringing the little guy at all. But because this is his father's final resting place, he insisted on honoring the kid's feelings, and he made him swear he wouldn't fight. Suddenly, the dragon's eyes snap into focus as he locks onto something looming on the horizon. The mist finally parts and the destination bursts into view. The Dragonkin village sprawls like a breathtaking dream, built on colossal floating mountains, with waterfalls roaring down between every shining home. Our hero finally crashes into the eye of the storm, ready to shield the innocent from the burning grip of war. Elder Rojas rolls in like a storm, pulling up to greet the squad at the village. He's wondering if our boy Nagi truly is the legendary water spirit, right there with the sacred dragon Takamut and the dark dragon Baragus. Nagi shoots him a warm nod, and tiny Baragus answers with an adorable little chirp. Rip Rojas looks like he can finally breathe, because he's been sweating bullets worrying about the war about to erupt. He breaks the news, the recon checks out, and the enemy army is just days away. Before the raid even starts, Nagi decides it's time to take the little guy to visit Diazotas' final resting place. Rojas nods and promises to lead them straight to the dragon mausoleum, perched on top of a gigantic floating rock like it's daring the world to come closer. When they finally reach the monument, Nagi just freezes in front of the statue of the fallen dragon, locked in absolute silence. As he stared at that ancient script etched into the stone, the truth hit him like a tidal wave. I swipe away the comments about how peaceful this place is, because that calm in a world this chaotic is straight up rare magic. The vibe flips the second Borgias clocks exactly where they've ended up. That poor little dragon starts sobbing on the cold stone, and it'll shatter anyone's heart on the spot. Nagi drops to his knees, palms pressed to the cold stone, whispering, I I just wanted to meet you again alive." With a heart full of steel, he swears to protect the village and guard the dragon's legacy at all costs. Right then, a ghostly presence flickers into view and whispers thanks, leaving Nagi frozen in total shock. He glances back at the empty statue and instantly realizes what's on the line for the defense mission coming right up. Since they're already there, Hiramu urges everyone to hit the Twilight Sanctuary, the very place where that dragon once lived. They stumble on a gigantic crater in the earth, like a real nuke just detonated there. The crew tiptoed along the hole's rim, hunting for the entrance to a secret cave. As they sprint into the dark, Naga's instincts scream that something is seriously wrong. He snaps to a halt, staring at the shadows as a strange, chilling aura spills out like it owns the night. A bone-deep chill crawls out from somewhere ahead in the tunnel. Even with every red flag screaming, Nagi decides to draw the heat and rushes in solo. Two blazing hollow eyes peer out of the void, pinning him in place like they're daring him to say what he wants. A dark-haired kid stumbles into view, looking like he hasn't slept in 10 years, and Nagi leans in and says, "I'm Nagi, the spirit of water. This is Formus, the great spirit of darkness. And let me tell you, he is not happy about you showing up in his domain." Neji tells them he wasn't doing anything shady. He was just paying respects to an old acquaintance who'd passed away just recently. Forma plays it stone cold, brushing off the whole sentimental moment like it's nothing, then just stares at Nagi with a blank, unreadable face. He tosses out a cryptic jab Nagi's not very spirit-like, not when he's always rubbing shoulders with humans. Right before Nagi can dig for more lore, Formus lines in, promises he'll remember, and then whoosh disappears into thin air. Hiramu's completely stunned. Nagi just casually talked to the spirit of darkness like it was nothing. For the next few days, they kick back and soak up a rare break with the Dragonkin. And turns out, these NPCs are the sweetest, most wholesome people alive. Naji watches them live in peace and snaps. There's no way he'll let any trash mobs wreck this village. He sits there in silence, forging steel in his heart as he vows to protect these people no matter what hits. But that peace shatters fast. Hiramu drops the bombshell. The enemy army is finally closing in. Hiramu's tone snaps. He demands to know if Naga's truly ready to go head-to-head with the other humans. Our boy finally admits it. Sure, he's fought plenty of times, but he's never once taken a human life. He steels himself because this isn't just a fight. It's the only battle that decides whether everything he loves survives. As the night slips away, Hiramu blurts out that his own human awareness is vanishing fast. And yeah, it's genuinely terrifying. He leans in and tells Nagi, "Talking to me and Yuki is the only thing that proves I'm not just a monster. I still remember what it felt like to be human." They agree to end this fight fast, right as a messenger bursts in, breathless and urgent. At last, the Luganus Kingdom's army barrels in, and they waste zero time because they're here to deal. The sky looks spotless, but the air feels thick and metallic, like blood is already everywhere. From the cliff, they stare down at a colossal sight. 20,000 troops sprawled across the plains like a living storm. On the flip side, the Dragonkin only field 200 elite knights and roughly 3,000 regular soldiers. These Dragon Knights are absolute tanks. Each one can smash the strength of 200 humans, but the enemy rolls out hero-class warriors who can crush them solo, one after another. Nagi squints hard, and he just feels *5 brutal, distinct presences looming inside the enemy crowd. Suddenly, the earth rumbles as a massive magic circle flares across the sky. The enemy isn't even waiting. He kicks off a top-tier summoning ritual, and it looks straight out of a nightmare. From the churn of swirling energy, a colossal entity starts forming right before their eyes. A towering, massive armored golem looms over the whole forest, its terrifying aura blasting the air and turning the regular soldiers to stone with pure gut-level fear. Nagi admits the enemy summoners aren't amateurs at all. They're sharp enough to pull off something like this. The Titan unleashes a colossal beam of raw energy, blasting straight toward our boy's position. Nagi doesn't even blink. He steps right up and slams one hand out to stop the whole blast in its tracks. He orders Hiramu to take over, and his buddy snaps into action, lunging forward as a partial dragon transformation surges to life. Hiramu unleashes a strike so savage it wipes out the enemy's momentum in a single brutal hit. Nagi smirks, convinced he finally has the upper hand. Then his spider sense goes wild and starts screaming. In a blink, a deadly blade cuts through the air, and Nagi gets crushed before the dragon can even shout his name. A war just erupted between the dragon village and the Lugina's kingdom, and it all goes to hell in seconds when an assassin comes hunting to take out our boy, Nagi. But Nagi isn't some throwaway trash mob who gets caught slipping. He tossed himself out as bait, drew the killer in, and trapped them in a water trap before they could swing in a single lethal blow. His allies stare in disbelief that he's totally unharmed, but Naga's already racing 3 moves ahead. He realizes this isn't some random thug at all. this guy's got hero-level skills. He shoves the prisoner to his guards and keeps a tight watch on the baddie. Now that the home base is locked down, he charges straight for the enemy camp, because he's going to find Hiramu. Meanwhile, Hiramu is demolishing the lobby, mowing down the so-called heroes without mercy. He slams in a crushing hit that blasts a loud, unmistakable message straight into the opposition. One of the heroes, a hulking bearded tank of a man, was absolutely seething, and he snapped that the thing was a gecko-like creature. Hiramu just smirks, then taunts his opponents. Is this really all you've got to trap a hero? A third hero lunges for a surprise strike from the flank, convinced she's finally spotted a crack in their defenses. She shrieks that he's packed with openings. Then she's about to find out Hiramu has zero lag. He slips through their perfectly timed combo like a pro gamer on a Smurf account, effortless and untouchable. He snatches a massive axe out of the air with his bare hands, showing everyone the power gap is just way too brutal. With one lightning-fast kick, he slams the female knight into the air and keeps the bearded guy from getting anywhere close. From the sidelines, Nagi watches Hiramu and realizes he could fold all three heroes in one breath. No strain, no sweat, just pure domination. While Hiramu charges ahead on the front line, Nagi feels a scary presence creeping in just out of sight. He chases the trail of wreckage Hiramu's last dragon breath attack ripped into the world. He follows the trail straight to a secluded tent, and he instantly senses a human presence lurking inside. Inside, a hooded summoner snaps out of her calm and starts frantically ransacking the treasure chests like she can't believe her luck. She's spiraling into full panic. Nagi blasted her summon demon earlier, and that totally wrecked her carefully laid plan. Nagi strolls in like he owns the place and starts whipping up his water magic. He snaps a shimmering water barrier around her and dares her to surrender. No violence, just a way out. But the summoner sniffs out his lie and refuses to fall for the act. She yanks out her grimoire and slams it shut with a spell, summoning a beefy minotaur to pulverize Nagi. Our boy doesn't even blink. He whips his water around and cleaves straight through the beast's rush. He traps the minotaur in a sizzling block of enchanted water, and the summoner's trembling so hard you can practically see the sweat fly off him. Desperation snaps in her chest, and she rips out her next summon, Bokwana, a gigantic fish-like nightmare. It looks like a living nightmare pulled up from the deep sea, looming over Nagi like it owns the ocean. It tears the sea into a monstrous whirlpool, trying to gulp Nagi down whole. The summoner is convinced she's finally nailed the perfect kill shot. Nagi stands face to face with that gigantic, tooth-bearing maw, and not even a trace of fear touches him. He shoots her a calm look and tells her water is his asterisk. Then he takes full control of the monster's element. A violent water explosion detonates out of nowhere, pulverizing the summon and smashing the summoner's confidence in the same breath. That blast rockets the girl through the air, and the moment she lands, she knows she's totally outmatched. Nagi locks eyes with her and fires back that choosing him as her opponent was the worst move she could have made. She's staring at him like he's a walking god, totally stunned that her top-tier magic can't make a dent. With everything on the line, she guzzles her last scrap of mana and calls down the heavy hitters, Hydra and the Hecaton chair. Massive magic circles flood the air as she summons ancient terrors from the depths. These vicious, multi-headed horrors spill out a terrifying aura so brutal that any normal soldier would collapse on the spot. And she even unleashes a monster-sized, elephant-like tank of a creature, a total behemoth. She shrieks, summoning her monsters to tear into him as they slam together for a brutal combined assault. A gigantic trunk crashes down toward Nagi, poised to crush the whole area flat. The fight slams into full chaos, and the three heroes finally clock it. This absolute unit is just on a whole other level. The villain just grins at their helpless fight, sneering at the whole idea of a hero, and then, right as he's about to finish the raid, Frazier makes a desperate grab for a comeback, but one brutal exchange later, she gets completely crushed. Watching their teammate get clapped like that just crushes the morale of the remaining knights. They swear her death won't be for nothing, shoving every last drop of mana into one final, desperate combo. They blow their ultimate moves, Chronostamicals and Hazan Tenjiki tearing into the baddies' brutal defenses like nothing can stop it. The blast rips open the sky, lighting up the entire battlefield like a spotlight, packing so much power it could wipe out a whole lobby. For a split second, the knights actually think they've locked in the W. But that fragile hope gets ripped apart on the spot when a brutal counterbeam slices through the smoke like it's nothing. The villain bursts out of the dust with barely a scratch, declares it's over, while the heroes slump broken on the ground. While Hiramu watches from the sidelines, weighing whether he should step in and carry Nagi for us. The MC is getting crushed by a straight-up nightmare. This multi-armed monster is wrecking his day. Nagi stays on the edge, slipping through a storm of brutal trash mob punches and kicks like he's one step away from getting crushed. He slams the beast with a colossal torrent of water magic, trying to drown it in one brutal blast. It's a pretty clean move on paper, but that monster's size is just unreal, too bulky to take lightly. Suddenly, the beast rips its jaw wide open, and Nagi realizes he just walked straight into a trap. That monster isn't just taking the blow, it's gulping the water down to power up its next attack. Nagi realizes his body's drenched in sweat as the beast winds up to fire back. Hydra heads surge in, blasting the ground with a deadly dose of Hydra's poison everywhere they land. Nagi barely throws up a shield in time, but the poison is already gnawing through his defenses. He's boxed in by elite mobs, and his usual kit is about to fall flat. He knows there's zero chance to just swing in with a normal attack when 3 bosses are crowding him at once. His go-to fighting style just doesn't stand a chance in this situation. With everything on the line, he dives straight into his mind's library, hunting for a forbidden sheet code. Dead center in the forbidden archive, he spots a huge tome chained down tight, the heavy chains clinging like a cage around it. He can feel a massive power blasting out of that book, and the worst part, it was sealed away for a truly evil reason. Even knowing it's forbidden, Nagi realizes he has no choice, because survival is the only thing on the table. He shoots his hand forward, it shaking like crazy, right as he braces to smash the seal. To smash through this mess, he's ready to fork over anything the gacha gods demand. With a deafening shatter, the chains snap apart, and a blinding light rockets through his vision. He snaps his eyes open, and staring back at him is the cold gaze of a real monster slayer. The demon girl lurking in the shadows goes speechless when the mana suddenly surges and shifts like lightning. Nagi snaps into the forbidden spirit art chant, and the air instantly starts to shake with a killer intent so sharp it feels alive. 3 monsters crash in swinging hard, but they don't see the truth yet. The battle was already theirs to lose. Nagi's gaze snaps onto his targets, cutting straight through their defenses like they're not even there. He stands perfectly still while the storm rages around him, and his mana starts bending the rules of physics like they're nothing. He leans in and whispers the technique's name, *** Mist Annihilation Realm ***. In the blink of an eye, those colossal monsters get wiped clean off the map, reduced to nothing but drifting dust and vanish into thin air. That demon girl is left trembling, staring at the aftermath, stunned by the sheer terrifying power she just witnessed. Those monsters don't even bother leaving loot behind, they just glitch out of existence, like the world buffering and fading them into nothing. Naga's body snaps at the breaking point, and he crumples to the ground as his power starts bleeding out. He realizes he went way too hard, and now the backlash slams into him like a speeding truck. He can't stop replaying the annihilation realm he failed to land, one deadly technique that turns the victim to mist and wipes them clean from existence. Even with blood pouring from his eye, Nagi snaps up a water barrier and corrals the leftover mist before it can finish him off. He whips his head toward the demon girl, she's finally back awake. Hiramu explains that the other prisoner ended his own life before anyone could squeeze a single piece of intel out of him. Nagi jolts awake and finds Hiramu looming right over their brand new prize. It's the hero who called the flame giant into existence, but the moment you see her, you realize she is absolutely not human. Nagi bares her horns and unleashes that huge magical presence that screams, "Yep, she's a demon." Hiramu is absolutely convinced she's the demon they've been warned about. Hiramu isn't messing around, he cuts in and asks, "Should we kill her right here?" The girl choked and gagged on a magical seal, fighting for her voice as desperation crushed her chest. She finally forces the words out, "I'm a demon," then begs, "I'll tell you everything I know, please." Right when she's about to spill the tea, a silencing curse snaps into place, and she erupts into a fit, coughing up blood. Nagi realizes her own kind is purging her, and she bolts in right on time to stop it. That girl is teetering on a permanent game over as the poison finally sinks in and won't let go. Nagi fires off his magic and catches her just before it's too late, even as Hiramu grumbles that he's being way too soft. Nagi just smirks at his bro, says lies won't touch him, and you can tell he already knows she's dead sincere. Still, he makes it crystal clear, if she's a threat, he'll handle it himself personally. They finally catch on demons are slinging silencing spells, locking their secrets away from the humans. Back at the village, Nagi finally crashes into some hard-earned rest, and man, he needed it. He gets greeted by his loyal pet, Barajas, who's practically bursting with joy to see his master return safe and sound. Nagi ruffled the little guy's hair with some soft head pats, and the tension finally melted off his shoulders after that brutal grind. The war against the Lugina's kingdom didn't drag on at all. It erupted, then ended in a complete victory in just 5 ruthless hours. Nagi can't stop thinking about how cold-blooded and terrifying the demons are, because they'll even throw their own people away without a second thought. He knows the fight against the demons isn't even close to being finished. But for now, he's finally going to breathe in the calm he bled for and fought to keep safe. Weeks have flown by since the brutal fight with Lugina's finally came to an end. Naga's in full recovery mode right now. He's laid up in the village, taking it easy, while the higher-ups sit tight, waiting for the sage to finally answer. Meanwhile, that demon woman they hauled in has been acting like an absolute sweetheart ever since she woke up. It's seriously jarring watching that former threat turn sweet as she cuddles up and plays with her caretaker. Turns out she can't remember a single thing after she hits 8 years old. The sage fears this mental regression is the ugly price of a silencing spell that backfired. Even after the memory wipe, she's still labeled a person of interest. So they're pushing for a meeting right now to map out what happens next for the kingdom. Nagi insists he's fine now, but his mana keeps pouring out of his hands like a busted faucet. When Mashras finally lays eyes on Agatsuma, she's sweating like crazy. Just sharing the same room with him makes her nerves scream. She clutches her caretaker, Sina, like her lifeline, and somehow he's the only one who can keep her calm. The sage just drops a huge lore bomb, revealing Mashras isn't even a pure-blooded demon. She's a half-breed who gets shoved into mastering high-tier summoning magic, and every spell rips straight through her soul until it can barely take it. Naga's healing didn't just help, it yanked her back from death. But the trauma of her real self getting wiped forced her mind to rewind into a childlike state. She's not pretending, she's shaking with real fear, because she feels Neiji's crushing presence and somehow thinks it's a demon's aura. And once you clock it, it's downright terrifying. Those demons were treating her like a throwaway battery to power their monsters. Agatsuma lets loose that Lugina's has been looking insanely suspicious ever since the war ended. The moment he went to investigate, the guards rushed in and tried to shut him down on the spot. Then it hit him. Every soldier in the entire army had been mind-controlled by those evil demon baddies. The sage didn't waste a second. He slammed his staff to the ground and blasted a kingdom-wide de-brainwashing spell into the world. His mana is on another level, so massive it terrifies everyone, blasting the whole city clean in one single pulse of blinding light. By the time he finally cleared the lobby, the demon's plan was already finished, done and ready. Things look bleak fast. Spirit magic users and slaves alike are getting snatched up in droves. Agatsuma is dead sure the demons are brewing some world-ending scheme, right down to every kidnapped mage they snatched. Even the Dragon King is about to jump into the fight, because Chaos already wiped out one of his own. Nagi is sent to track down the great spirits and get them ready for the storm that's about to hit. And here's the thing, most legendary spirits stay totally neutral, like human drama. I don't care. Nagi knows he can't afford to slack off if they're gonna survive this. Right before he bolts, Nagi thrusts the magical tome they just ripped off the demon woman into the next person's hands. Staring into the forbidden spells, the sages went wide-eyed, because Masher's monsters were so terrifying they had no choice but to summon everything they had. He decides the smartest move is to leave her at the temple, where she can cleanse the lingering evil magic. He reaches out and pulls her into comfort. You've crushed through so much pain up to this point, and now you can finally breathe, rest easy. For the first time, the Mashers finally breaks, and tears spill like they've been trapped for ages. The sage cracks a joke, bragging that he's dealt with way more troublemakers than these disciples ever will. Once everything's finally settled, Nagi dashes back to his home base by the lake. After a brutal slog through the clouds, he finally bursts onto the edge of the village. He can't believe it. When he comes back, the town has exploded in size while he was gone. Yona and Rudo spot him at once, and Rudo charges over at full speed for an explosive reunion. They swarm him with a welcome back, so warm it could melt anyone's heart. Ever since he left, the village has been non-stop churning out upgrades like there's no time to waste. The numbers have exploded. Now brand new races are rolling in, ready to join the squad. And Nagi catches sight of a giant scaly tail slipping through the grass. A squad from the Lamia tribe strides forward, ready to pledge their blades and their loyalty to the Lord of the Lake. Like the Dark Elves, they're a hunted race on the run, clawing for protection wherever they can. Nagi, the absolute goat, swings the door wide and welcomes them with open arms. The Lamia leader practically exhales in relief when they spot a spot where nobody's coming to hunt them. Nagi just wants everyone to finally breathe easy and live happily, after everything they've been through. But hold up, there's more. A squad of burly dwarfs just rolled into town too. They stepped forward and officially begged to join the growing community as full-on residents. To prove they meant no harm, they hand Nagi a cloth-wrapped gift. It's a masterwork blade forged with jaw-dropping precision and obsessive care. Rudo's eyes literally glint with pure excitement as he stares at the blade. Nagi hands it over and lets the kid grab it, then just hands it to him like a spark, using it as a motivation booster. He'll clutch it tight for safekeeping until Rudo finally learns how to swing a sword. The town is ballooning out of control, and Nagi realizes he's gotta expand the barrier magic before it all breaks. He orders the kids to grab Philly and the rest of the core team and bring them to a meeting at his mansion. Once everyone crowds into his massive living room, the whole place goes quiet for a beat. Nagi slams a brutal request onto them out of nowhere. Meet the Elf King, tell him I'm sending this invoice and he'll handle it. They need the elves on their side to shut down the demon's schemes about the spirits. Philly and the whole crew are geared up to go all in and bring the heat. Fail is staring dead serious, and he decides to split off on his own for a little while. Nagi senses something off, but he still trusts his comrade with everything. Just as the gang gets ready to leave the next day, Nagi slams the brakes and stops them. He yanks out a gigantic spirit stone and it glows like pure, raw energy is about to explode. He tells them they'll need a top-tier item just like this, because only then will the Elf King take them seriously as spirit envoys. Once the mission kicked off for real, Nagi stared as they took off, feeling how insane the stakes had gotten. Philly and the whole squad finally tore themselves away from their brutal 2-month journey to the Elven Kingdom. They didn't come back by themselves, nope. They rolled in with this insanely formal entourage and it's got everyone on edge. At the front charges Wilrian Lanuja Finrelt, the real crown prince of the kingdom, while Neji is absolutely drenched in sweat because he only meant for Philly to play messenger, not haul the heir straight back to the throne with her. He realizes way too late that Lunacia straight up means crown prince in Elvish, and Nagi is left staring like, how did we speedrun into this chaos so fast? Philly blurts out that the moment they stepped in, the royal guards basically guided them by force, because they could feel Naga's huge presence pounding through their spirit stones. Staying near that incredible spirit for so long totally numbed the whole group, like they forgot what a huge deal our boy really is. Nagi shoots back that he let it slip too, and now he realizes he's got to be careful because he's already drawing fire from major world powers. Then the prince drops to one knee and thrusts a letter from King Lucian himself. Even in all that formality, Nagi can still feel it, the king's real hunger to forge a true, peaceful bond. He's finally letting out a breath of relief because this is it. They can forge a real tight bond between the two territories at last. That prince lives for zero-lag teamwork, and he's begging to hear Naga's side of the story right from her mouth. Nagi couldn't hold it in. He blurted everything about the kingdom of Ludginus and the dark dragon Diazotis. He even spills the real truth. Demons are the ones yanking the strings in the shadows. The prince's face drops like he just got slammed with brutal debuffs when he learns the demons are behind the disappearing spirit mages. Nagi pushes the elves to become the ultimate bridge, so he can tap into other great spirits and stay one step ahead of everything. Then the prince swings the conversation around and demands one massive favor, about the former king's illness. Nagi only smirks, tosses him a sip of that special water, and tells him it's the exact same cure that broke the curse on a literal dark dragon. The prince is completely stunned, because this is the real cure for the legendary forbidden curse. Once the elves finally clear the lobby, a whole new wave of visitors rolls in. This time it's the Beastkin, no hesitation at all, straight up calling Nagi the great spirit of water. Failure's back, yeah, Fail is back too, and he's rolling in with some seriously beefy bodyguards just like Sharo. The Beastkin Federation has stormed in to talk about a pact and forge even stronger bonds. Nagi is still reeling from the sudden flood of guests when boom, one of the beasts starts to shift. A blast of smoke swirls away, and suddenly the real truth hits us. Turns out that random guy is Prince Farian, the third prince of Judars, who ditched the palace and ran away to wander with the crew. They hauled the discussion into the mansion so they could finally cut straight to business. Farian tells him he's already gone and warned his father about Neji's power. Even his attendant swears Nagi is divine, because that lake is guarded by an absolutely insane barrier. Nagi couldn't help but grin. Finally, they were reading from the same page. They smash straight into the paperwork, fighting to lock in the alliance for good. The rules are crystal clear. Nagi gets treated like a one-man military unit, and nobody's planning to call in extra help from him. Nagi makes it crystal clear. He won't lift a finger if Judars is the one who starts the war. They swear to guard each other's people, and to keep trade fair, steady, and never out of control. It's a rock-solid deal, no loopholes, no escape, no exceptions. Both sides are buzzing and can't wait to team up and start working together. They lock it in with a hard handshake, and just like that, the whole region feels the power swing. Naga's already plotting his next strike at the Dragonkin village, but the crew's panicking, because it feels like he's testing fate one step too far. He's ready to pitch an anti-demon alliance and stitch up their broken trade routes once and for all. The kids swear they'll stand guard over the lake while the boss is gone. Nagi pushes back and insists on going, because there's one person he has to meet face to face. He storms back to the Dragon King's crew, right there with Yona and Almina. Right after the introductions wrap up, bam, it's revealed that Yona is Naga's contractor. Next, they geared up to storm the forbidden sanctuary of eternal darkness. But right before they walk out, Nagi yells for Formus to come over for a private chat. Formus stares like he just saw a ghost, then snaps at Nagi to stay on guard. He just drops a bombshell, yeah, you've totally overused your power. So yeah, Naga's brand new and his existence is hanging by a thread. If he keeps pushing, he could literally vanish out of thin air. Naga is drenched in sweat, terrified that if he closes his eyes, the demons will crush him. Formus tells them, my soul is tied to my contractor, so when the world finally needs me, they'll wake me up. He tells Neji, trust your bros now, then crash for a long nap. Nagi finally gets it. He can't keep hauling the entire server on his back anymore. He sits there watching the kids drift off, and it hits him hard. He's been fighting this whole battle alone. He wrestles with the weight of his duty as a mighty force, but Yona slams in and catches him wide awake. Yona's panicking, she grabs him and insists he needs to rest right now, or he's going to snap before he even realizes it. As Nagi goes to speak, his whole body starts melting into water right before her eyes. His mana drops to 0, and his hands start to liquefy right before his eyes. Yon's looking totally drained, and he pleads for him to finally lay down and sleep. Nagia digs in his heels, insisting he has to protect them, but Yona shuts that down hard. She tells him, when you let them help, you're not just giving in, you're making this town stronger. She reminds him of every time he risked his life to save them, and then drops the truth. It's finally their turn to pay him back. She grabs his hands tight and begs him, please stop pushing yourself into a corner. She pleads for you to trust us more, like, right now. Staring at her determined face, Nagi finally gets it, she's right. And after all that pressure, he finally caves, letting himself rest for a while at last. Nagi shoots back to the lake early, leaving the trade gear in Almana's hands. Helio is sobbing his heart out, but he swears he'll get stronger, so he can finally be useful. Nagi grabs Yona's attention and orders her to protect everyone while he's away. He swears he'll be back with them one day, no matter how long it takes. Everyone crowds in, holding their breath and praying for his recovery as the Great Spirit's light starts to vanish. Nagi shoots them one final look. Then, with a horrifying blur, he completely dissolves away. The water gleams as he slips back into the lake, vanishing into its sparkling embrace. Yona fights to keep her tears from spilling as the boss clicks out and signs off. Good night, Lord Nagi, don't start nagging on me again, and I'll see you when the sun comes back. Then one lone drop splashes onto the surface, and just like that, the long-awaited moment finally kicks the door wide open. The moment Yona feels the air change, his instincts explode, telling him something huge is seconds away from crashing down. In a voice so low it barely existed, he finally snaps. Lord Neji has awakened. He barrels toward the source of that overwhelming power, wasting not a single second. The water twists and roars into motion, and with a massive tidal blast of energy, their leader's return crashes into reality. Nagi steps out like time never touched him, flashes Yona a calm, steady smile, and boom, our boy is finally back in the game. Even Beelgeus the dragon can't hold it in, Nagi so much as reaches out, and he instantly turns into a total overexcited puppy. 5 grueling years later, Naga's been stuck on forced AFK, while the world kept sprinting ahead, when the legendary Agatsuma finally arrives to lay out the state of the realm. As they make their way back to the estate, Neji freezes. Skyscrapers stab through the clouds, and the whole place looks less like a fantasy village and more like a full-on modern city. Turns out the dwarves took Naga's offhand joke about high-density housing way too seriously, then used their master crafting skills to forge a whole concrete jungle. The city turned into a non-stop trade fortress, powered by teleportation circles and secret underground passages. Then the second someone says demons, Naga's focus snaps to it like a blade. For 3 straight years, demons have been cooking up twisted nightmares, turning monsters into absolute hellscapes like mad scientists to terrorize the whole continent. These aren't your average trash mobs. One wave from them has nearly erased whole nations of beastkin and dragonkin. Yona tells him that even this city is choking under siege, but he doesn't back down, stepping up as a top-tier DPS to blast his way through and protect their home. But he wasn't fighting alone. Suiko, the water spirit, snapped up an impenetrable barrier to keep the civilians safe. Naga's beaming over how far they've come, then Suiko drops the truth. The last battle left something dark behind. She thrusts a jagged, obsidian-black gem into view, one she ripped from the wreckage of a defeated monster. Nagi snatches the stone, and the moment his fingers close on it, a wave of corruption slithers through him, turning his face grim. This isn't some random drop. It reeks with the exact same cursed aura as the forbidden child, Diazotis. As Nagi studies it, the stone suddenly oozes a dark, deep red, cracking wide open to reveal its real form. A corrupted fire spirit crystal. As Suiko drops the truth, the room chills. These crystals are the hearts of spirits, which means the demons aren't just fighting them. They're slaughtering spirits to power their war machine. It was probably some minor fire spirit, one that never even got a real shot before everything went down. Naga's hands shake hard as he clamps down on the crystal, and his cool mask instantly cracks, turning into full-blown rage. "Storming my village, hurting the spirits, defiling them, I'll never forgive a single one of you," he snarls, eyes blazing with ice-cold rage. His killing intent is so brutal it crushes the air. These kids look like they're seconds away from dropping. Seeing the tension spike, Agasuma clapped his hands to shatter the moment and told them to call it a night, so Nagi could finally recharge his mana. Nagi backs off, but that wild fire in his eyes still won't die. That night, Nagi slaps a heartfelt thank you onto the old man's shoulder for calming everything down before his temper fully snapped. Agatsuma doesn't beat around the bush. Straight up demands Nagi represent the spirits at the upcoming Union Council. It's a colossal alliance packed with the top heavy hitters from the human, elf, dwarf, and dragon clans. Nagi hesitates hard, convinced he's too clueless and out of sync to take the lead for the other great spirits. But Agatsuma drops the bombshell that darkness, lava, desert, and thunder's spirits have already sworn their blades to the cause. They've made it crystal clear. They're only sticking with this alliance because Nagi is the one driving the ship. When Nagi hears the meeting is in just 5 days, he starts freaking out over the 0-day notice. Agatsuma slams it down, no training arc and Nagi has to be there, no excuses. 5 days later, a colossal teleportation circle ignites and erupts with blinding light. They stride straight into the heart of the Onashia Empire. This place looks like it maxed out its magic tech research tree and never stopped upgrading. This place is the ultimate stronghold, so it's the only place that actually makes sense for a world summit. They burst into the council chamber, and the air is so heavy it could choke a dragon. Again, every big-time world leader is crammed into the room, and it's obvious they're all sweating bullets. Nagi clocks a familiar face, Hiramu, the Dragon King's right-hand man, looking like he hasn't slept in a week. Hiramu finally cracks and admits he's been trapped in an endless grind, doing everything he can to stop the vengeful dragons from snapping and going rogue. Agatsuma steps up to the front, snapping the crowd's attention as he reminds them the demon threat isn't something waiting for later. He slams the hammer down and warns the kings. If they don't stop solo queuing and start playing as one team, they're finished. King Venava, ruler of the dwarves, threw the question everyone was dying to ask. What does solving this problem even look like asterisk in real life? Agasuma clenches his fist and declares with deadly certainty that within 3 years total war will explode, and their only choice is victory. The whole hall freezes in an instant, slammed by a terrifying wave of pure dread. Everyone still clings to the tales of the old wars, back when the gods fought alongside them, yet the alliance still couldn't seal the deal. That war tore the world apart, cities crumbled to dust, and the demons, they never got wiped out for good. Agatsuma tells them, don't give up. But that old historical trauma is still smashing into every single one of them. Nagi just sits there and listens as they break down how the last hero crushed the Demon King. The kings scrambled to defend themselves, insisting the demons shouldn't have been that ripped, like they'd somehow hit peak strength from the Golden Age. They whip their heads toward Nagi and Hiramu, and it hits them. Dragons and mighty spirits in their corner could be the exact edge they need to fight through this. The vibe flips in a blink, and the whole room explodes into cheers as they start believing, really believing, that they can win this. But right in the middle of the celebration, one guy in the crowd flashes a smirk so suspicious it practically screams trouble. Nagi clocks the dude's energy the second it hits, and before anyone can even blink, he slams him shut with a water prison. The whole hall freezes in silence as the man fights for his life, crushed under the brutal weight of spirit magic. All the other nobles whisper that Nagi has snapped, demanding to know why he's attacking a human like a man possessed. But Nagi doesn't even blink. He clocked that crushing malice, something no human could ever be born with. As he talks, his skin starts to slew off like broken plastic, and a demon spy's hideous, scarred face flashes through, right among them. The interrogation kicks off with a chilling demand for the truth. So tell me, what's your name? This demon spy is sweating through his skin as a crystal blade slices just past his cheek. He tries to act like the quiet type, but this room is packed with elite players who don't waste a second on games. The old man slams the warning down. If you stay silent, you better brace yourself, because once that high-level torture spell fires, there's no turning back. A lightning blast slams the demon into a fold, and it shrieks so hard the whole trash mob would have shivered in fear. Nagi Arbu gets shoved into using his healing magic non-stop, just to keep the spy's health bar from dropping to 0, so the suffering never ever ends. I'll talk, just hush up, the spy shrieks and blurts it out. He's Junus, a demon army agent. They sent him to slip in and snatch intel on the Alliance meeting. His true mission wasn't just stealth, it was to hunt down the great spirits and track the dragons. Nagi closes in, aura blazing with menace, and growls. So what are you planning to do with those kidnapped spirit mages? He orders the spy, tell me everything you know, no secrets left. Truth hits hard. They drag mages into a brainwashing nightmare and butcher spirits to power a brutal dark ritual. As the Demon King is set to rise again, Junus erupts in a terrifying scream, his face contorting into a full-blown demonic nightmare. He bursts into a nasty cackle as his body swells, tears, and ruptures. Then he grins and taunts them, promising they're all about to get slaughtered. Naga's got zero delay. He throws up a barrier instantly, trapping the massive explosion before it can spread. Turns out the demon didn't just kill himself. Another demon remotely blew him up just to keep him quiet. The side characters are straight up losing it, terrified they can't beat the legendary boss. The old man slams everything down, dousing the panic, and mutters that the Demon King still hasn't come back. They have to rally their forces and train like beasts to build real power, before the enemy finishes getting ready. All right, the old man declares, eyes blazing. Then he picks the hero like he's about to kick off the first world raid himself. The council slams their decision down. The Holy Church of our niece will run the ritual, and just like that, the meeting finally ends. A few weeks slip by while the whole world braces for the storm that's about to hit. A messenger named Donan barrels up to the mansion, ready to drop some life-changing news that will flip everything. He tells you 5 heroes were picked by a divine oracle, a kid who swings a spirit sword like it's fate itself. He locks eyes with our boy's companion and declares that kid is none other than Lord Yona. The oracle's word is ironclad. These chosen heroes are drenched in a sacred blessing and stamped with a divine mark from the gods. Yona yanks open his shirt and there, right on his chest, the water divine mark ignites with a fierce glow. The church wants to snatch Yona and haul him straight to the Grand Cathedral for some hardcore power leveling. Nagi snaps to it, his contract partner is getting dragged off, and he goes dead silent. While Nagi isn't exactly thrilled by all this, Yona's eyes burn with pure, unshakable resolve. I'm going to be the water hero, he vows, determined to shield everyone he cares about. 3 days later, the moment hits, time to leave, so Yona rushes in, throwing his goodbyes like a punch to the heart. The whole town's torn between worry and hope, since the church is involved, but everyone's still cheering for Yona. A little girl clings to him like he's her lifeline, sobbing as she gushes about how insanely amazing her big brother is. Everyone's roaring for him, yelling, "Give it your all." Helio's stuck in the back, utterly wrecked, like he can't even breathe. Yana spots his friend, but his mind freezes. He doesn't know what to say. Now there's a huge social divide. One chosen hero is floating above everyone else like they don't even belong in the same world. Naju can't look away. He feels the tension crackling in the air as the drama unfolds. As the sun sinks, Nagi clenches his jaw and admits, without his buddy, the nights are gonna feel brutally lonely. He spots Yona slipping out of the house in the dead of night. Our boy decides to hop in and follow him in his spirit form to find out what's going on. Yana stumbles upon Helio deep in the woods. Helio's acting ice cold and he snaps, "What kind of business does the Holy Church's hero have with you?" He's clearly in pain and he snaps at Yona that he doesn't want excuses, only silence. Helio admits he's over the moon, that Yona busted her ass for 8 long years. But then he snaps, exploding in rage, screaming, "Why in the world did you choose the Holy Church?" Nagi finally gets what Helio means, because the past behind all this is downright dark. Dark elves weren't born evil. Demons kidnapped regular elves, then twisted them through vile experiments until they became an entirely new race. Instead of helping them, the church branded them heretics, and then unleashed a brutal persecution. Helio still remembers the hunt, how they were chased, cornered, and kicked out of every community, until they finally stumbled upon Naga's lake. Helio can't stomach it. Yona is actually stepping into the very group that crushed his people. But Yona isn't just selling out. He's choosing to join their side for a reason. He leans in and tells his friend, "I've got another goal." And he locks eyes with her, staring straight at her like a dare, and then lays out his scheme to force the Pope to strike down the claim that dark elves are heretics. He knows a hero's request will get answered for real, unlike anything a half-elf dares to ask for. This was the plan from the very start, no detours, no doubts. But Yona's done sitting back. He's determined to rewrite the world so the dark elves he loves can finally live in the reality they deserve. He's determined to become just like Lord Neji, stepping in to protect everyone who's being treated unfairly. Helio's eyes flood with tears as he breaks down and apologizes for being so cold to his friend. Then he swears that while Yona is gone, he'll guard the town and Nagi with every ounce of strength he's got. "I'll get stronger," he vows, choking back tears. He tells Yona come back alive, no broken parts. They lock it in with a fist bump that seals the promise. Nagi lurks in the shadows, grinning as his boys sweep the lobby clean of their own doubts. Yona's big moment is finally here. He's packing up Lakeside Town and charging headfirst into his next quest. His family is definitely feeling the weight of this moment, and it hits him hard. No matter what happens, he always has a home to come back to. Yona's not storming off alone. Suiko marches right beside him, backing him up, as he vows he'll come back a real, true hero. Turns out Suko isn't the only one stepping up. another spirit, also named Suko, just got born to guard the town. Right before the party rolls out, Nagi thrusts a mysterious gift into Yona's hands. They forged a brand new spirit sword just for Yona's next level, because his old gear was starting to look like straight-up starter-tier junk. Naga's pushing him to dual-wield those beasts, so he can squeeze every last ounce out of his training gains. To keep them linked across the whole map, Nagi reminds him that the contract seal lets Yona summon help the second things start going sideways. It's a huge power-up because Nagi basically says, "My strength is Yona's strength." Donan steps up and takes the lead, protecting Yona as they gear up to finally head out. Then Helio bursts in, sprinting full speed, drenched in sweat, still praying like the whole world depends on it for their safety. Seeing Yona stride off to save the world sparked a blazing need for Helio and Rudo to act. As they wave goodbye, Helio suddenly feels it. He's done playing the side character. He looks Nagi right in the eye and tells him, "I'm done staying weak, I want to get stronger." He's determined to guard the squad the exact same way Yona protects hers. Helio kicks off his training arc right away, pouring every last drop of sweat into learning his spear like his life depends on it. He grinds every single day, smashing his goals and stacking his DPS higher and higher. Rudo doesn't ease up for even a second. He dives headfirst into spirit magic, pushing the limits so hard that both of them can force each other to go all out. They're locked in on the prize, and Rudo's even daring to swear he'll beat his big brother someday. Agatsuma doesn't stick around for long. He storms in looking totally wrecked, and he's on his knees begging Nagi to help him. He dropped some insane lore. An ancient monster that was sealed away eons ago just busted free. The demons have officially hauled Cerberus back from the dead. The legendary three-headed hound of hell is resurrected. The kids can't keep it together, because they honestly believed this beast was nothing but a myth. This isn't some throwaway trash mob. It's a world boss-level nightmare that tore through everything during the Great War of Gods and Demons. Agatsuma finally admits they can't kill it, so the only way they win is by resealing the beast before it overwhelms them. Nagi doesn't even blink. He snatches the aggro and bolts, leaving Suiki to hold down the home base while he storms out to handle the threat. They yank themselves away with a flash of teleportation, instantly ditching everyone else behind. They touch down deep in the mountains, far so remote that no one would ever spot demons dragging a nightmare into the world. If they don't shut Cerberus down right now, that beast is going to barrel straight into the nearby villages and wipe out the whole lobby. Hiramu and Yuki are already right there, and the monsters barely felt their presence. Nagi finally gets pulled into the big legs. Menafi, Rodo, Trix, and Vicult step in too, and together they're the 5 sages. These guys are the world's ultimate mages, alchemists, bindcasters, and absolute masters in every arcane specialty. Even with that kind of firepower, Cerberus radiates nothing but raw, bone-deep malice. One of the sages even jokes about turning it into a pet, but the second he sees what this monster really is, he realizes he's dealing with something on a whole other level. And just like that, Nagi gives the go-ahead, and the sealing preparations kick into full gear. Because this spell is a gigantic, city-level ritual, it's gonna take real time before it can even kick into action. Cerberus locks onto them and rockets forward, and the group has to scramble into action before it bulldozes into the civilian zones. Nagi shouts for everyone to brace themselves as he lines up to unleash a massive wave. He hurls a roaring flood of water through the air, and it slices clean like a blade. The water snaps into razor-sharp spikes and hammers the beast with a deadly rain of crystalline projectiles. From way out there, it hits like a bullseye, no doubt about it. The projectile slammed into all 3 heads of the beast, stunning it for a split second. Hiramu lunges for an opening, but Cerberus grins, because it's got a trap ready. In the blink of an eye, that beast just disappears from the battlefield like it was never there. It pulls a straight-up pro-gamer move, teleporting right behind the hero to land a savage surprise flank. A wild beast surges forward and bites deep into Hiramu's arm before he even has time to react. Hiramu lies there bleeding out, staring up in disbelief, trying to figure out what kind of broken mechanic just did this to him. Nagi snaps to it, this is bad, because the beast is tangled in a poisonous miasma. And on top of that, its spatial teleportation whisks it away so fast that you can barely ever track or pin it down. The sages are drenched in sweat, straining against the seal like their lives depend on it, begging for just a few more seconds of cover. Nagi and Hiramu lock eyes like, that's it, because the moment has come to stop playing it safe and unleash their killer ultimate dragon and water tag team. Cerberus is a nightmare. One minute it's teleporting, the next it's dumping miasma everywhere like it can't stop the damage. But Nagi is built different. Because her body is made of healing water, she can grab that trash mob and not get corrupted. She reasons, if I can survive a basilisk turning me to stone, then I can absolutely handle this nasty dog breath. Suddenly, a wicked dark portal tears open, and the beast tenses up right before it lunges to strike. Nagi doesn't even flinch, he rockets straight into the danger zone. Cerberus bursts out of a shadow portal, and our girl is already set to snatch the aggro right away. She whips up a colossal whirlpool of water, slamming it shut to trap the beast. Next, Hiramu shouts encouragement as she straps that monster in and holds it there. Turns out her healing water form destroys the miasma like a perfect counter. Cerberus panics as it starts losing, then pulls a filthy trick, trying to snatch Nagi into a whole different dimension. Hiramu hurls himself in to stop the teleportation, yelling at the top of his lungs, "Not a chance. Don't let this happen." The two dragons locked in a brutal wrestling match with the three-headed nightmare, pinning it down as the water erupted and splashed everywhere. The sage stands on the sidelines, yelling, "Are you two okay?" because the power in this fight is surging past the breaking point. Nagi knows the clock is bleeding out, so he snaps back, "Don't be ridiculous. If I let go, it'll slip right away." She fires off a lightning-quick high-IQ move on the spot, then plans to morph into a sphere of water to trap that beast. Hiramu is shaking with fear, but she stays steady and just calmly says, "It's okay, I'm water." She's dead set on blasting a breath shockwave to tear her own body apart, just so she can slip out of the seal. The countdown kicks off and the tension hits maximum, like it's about to snap. On 2, Nagi snaps into place and fully traps the beast inside her watery prison. The sage roars at the top of his lungs the second the final signal is thrown. A colossal burst of energy rips through the water sphere, then absolutely smashes Cerberus into the ground. No delay, no mercy. When the smoke finally clears, there's nothing left, just a tiny black orb sitting there where the monster was. Nagi reforms her body with a huge exhale, grateful they slipped past that seal's permanent ban. Nagi can finally breathe easy, everyone's safe, and she flashes a smile that screams the fight is over for real. She tells the group, "Because of you, we just nailed a direct hit on Cerberus, and that proves it, they're the ultimate duo." Nagi's jaw drops at how perfectly the plan worked, especially when that beast gets smashed by deep-sea pressure like it's getting crushed by the ocean itself. With the danger finally wiped out, the crew snaps into action and heads back to regroup with the rest of the squad. Every last sage is standing there, heads bowed, because they know those boys just threw their lives into the fire and saved them. Hiramu blurts out whether the monster is truly gone for good, and the sage nods. It's sealed up for good in some isolated space. They shove the orb into a top-tier storage box and slam it shut, sealing it tight with ancient runes. Those ladies are still in full shock, talking about how the fight's shockwaves slammed into them from miles away. One of the younger sages finally admits just how terrifying that monster truly was. And just like that, we get a fast lore bomb. Sages are basically the god-tier players of this world, masters of magic who have spent centuries honing their power. As the meeting ends, Agatsuma leans in and blurts that he's terrified of what the demon race is plotting. One after another, the sages hit the log-off button, grinning as they thank Nagi and Hiramu for carrying them through. They trade quick farewells and hustle back to their own zones. Even elegant Lady Sage can't take it anymore. After that brutal raid, she's ready to sprint straight home. Before the old Lady Sage slips away, she presses a special gift into Nagia's hands. It's a bottle of Evolut, divine medicine she brewed with her own hands. This stuff is basically a cheat code, also called the wish drug, because it grants whatever the user truly wants. She tells them, as long as none of you wishes for the world to be destroyed, it'll keep working. But here's the twist, once you use it, it's gone forever. She straight up admits she already burned her wish, so that potion is totally pointless for her now. Now she hands it to Nagi, trusting he'll use that top-tier gacha reward the right way. Hiramu shoots him the question, "What's your wish?" And Nagi is instantly slammed by a wave of deep, soul-searching thoughts. For a heartbeat, he considers using it to rip himself back to his original world. He still remembers that first rush when he showed up, telling himself to relax, just take it easy, and then finally head home. But when he looks at every friend he's collected, his whole mindset flips, completely for good. He finally admits the truth to himself. He's not turning back, because this world and the people living in it have stolen his heart. Hiramu admits he's got nothing either. Then they step into the sunset, and the silence hits like a confession. Nagi leans into the head sage and begs for one last favor before they finally leave. He's hunting down a top-tier spear, but it's not for him. He's chasing it for someone truly special. Now jump to that night under a blazing full moon. We watch little Helio grind through training, fighting to master his basic gear step by step. Neji screeches in out of nowhere, and right as the kid expects nothing, he drops a shock, then welcomes him home. Helio can finally breathe easy, because his mentor is safe and totally okay. Nagi grins and tells him, "I grabbed you a souvenir from the Cerberus raid." He thrusts the legendary spear into the kid's hands, and the kid can barely process what he's seeing. The second that Helio hits it, the weapon instantly crumbles into a rusty, useless junk heap. The poor kid panics like he shattered it, but Nagi steps in and lays out the truth behind the spear, Theooxus. This legendary hero wielded it, and it only unleashes its real power when it locks onto the person holding it. He tells Helio, keep grinding and training, one day that spear will finally recognize you and it'll light up and shine again. Helio's on fire right now, swearing he'll give it everything he's got. Nagi tells the kid to crash and recover, because even healing is part of the grind. As the day winds down, fluffy little paws start kneading the ground like it's their cozy ritual. And just like that, we wrap the day with a sweet, cozy scene, white tiger lounging while the winged cubs curl up and snooze, purring their hearts out after a full, busy day. Peaceful vibes are off the table for us right now as we stare out at the quiet outskirts of the city. Like calm is the last thing we can afford. Nagi and the crew are just vibing, until a letter from Yona finally drops into their hands. Nagi crashes straight into the update, desperate to see how his old partner is surviving the big leagues. Turns out this kid has been grinding 24/7 and Lady Anya, the head holy knight, is right there watching every move. He's not going it alone, he's riding with a stacked crew of 5, made up of 4 other God-blessed heroes. We're about to break down the full lineup of top-tier talent. Marshall's sitting on a weather-controlled cheat code, while Kinya flexes as the master of alchemy, and Menelise can basically conjure a whole forest out of thin air with her plant magic. Then you've got Renil, the absolute unit of the group, the hero of fire, who Yona worships like the ultimate role model. Yona's dead set on climbing to the top. He's writing it like a promise to himself that he'll become a great hero. Back home, the rest of the squad feels the heat, and they're desperate to level up just to match that insane growth. Naga's just relieved to see the kid finally building real connections, because the brutal training hasn't crushed them into nothing yet. That sweet, wholesome moment gets smashed the second Philly rolls up with a stone-cold, serious face. Score-obsessed Kreswav Academy and character First Iron Gate Reform School. She drops a massive bombshell. Her team uncovers a dungeon buried deep in the forest. In this world, a dungeon is basically a rare resource gotcha machine, and the second it spawns loot, every neighboring country suddenly wants a piece of the same prize, turning it into a full-on political disaster. Philly played it razor-sharp. She clamped down on the news before it could leak and sealed her whole scout team behind ironclad secrecy. She didn't even step inside. She bolted back to Nagi first, demanding orders before she moved a muscle. Nagi starts rummaging through his mental wiki, remembering dungeons come in 2 totally different flavors, natural and artificial. Natural ones are basically mana overload zones that sculpt themselves into twisting fields or towering mountains, all shaped by whatever the environment demands. But the artificial ones, dungeon masters craft them into multi-layered towers and twisted underground labyrinths, far more sinister. Natural spots are awesome for farming, but the real legendary loot hides in artificial zones, if you can survive the deadly traps packed into every corner. Nagi catches the truth. If this dungeon's natural, whole nations will tear each other apart for the harvest, but if it's artificial, it smells like a demon ambush meant to trap them. The very next day, they decide to scout the perimeter and find out exactly what they're up against. As the crew barrels through the thick brush, the whole vibe starts to twist and turn. They've finally smashed through to the very heart of the naturally growing dungeon. The whole scenery is wild. Flowers are unreal and blazing, so huge they practically scream, "Touch me and you're done," like they'd slap a poison debuff on you just by staring. It's all because the ground got blasted with a crazy amount of magical energy, soaking the soil like nothing else. Suddenly, Nagi freezes because he spots something huge, a tree with a weathered, ancient face carved right into its bark. Philly's on full alert, but Nagi spots the creature instantly. It's a Trant, an infamous legendary plant-type monster that stays super calm until you push the wrong button. These rare beasts are basically on the brink of extinction. People kept stripping them for magic staves and the power-boosting fruit over and over. And once Nagi realizes this spot is a literal jackpot of rare materials, he decides they've got to sprint back, lock in a plan, and strategize before word gets out and this whole goldmine turns public. Under the crescent moon, the town's top council members huddle together, burning to talk over the big find. The leaders are left speechless, because this massive manhole was right there, practically in their backyard. The argument explodes over whether they should even dare to try clearing the zone. Already, a few people are eyeing the rare flowers and materials like a gold mine, realizing the massive profit it could bring. Everyone agrees on one thing: beat it, or you're not really done. Etna is sweating bullets, terrified that the news might get out. She knows human greed doesn't play around, and she's terrified that the moment other countries learn about the loot, they'll rush in to snatch her territory. The whole room is at odds, because they can't swap these resources without the outside world cluing in. The Lamia rep quietly pushes for one thing: trade only with their current allies, keep the whole mess low-key. Nagi clocks that Etna's being way too careful, because she's still suspicious of how humans misuse power. The dwarf just shrugs and tells everyone to chill, because nobody in their right mind would dare to poke the great spirit Nagi. After burning through an all-nighter, they finally decide. They'll reveal the discovery only to Finrelth, the Dragonkin, and Judal's kingdoms. Once the high-tier stuff starts moving around, you can bet your secrets won't stay buried for long. Instead of dodging the truth and wrecking trust, they'll team up with their allies and run the diplomacy game, while Nagi stands there like a final warning to any nation thinking of meddling. The very next morning, a squad of battle-hardened fighters gets thrown into action as the official raid team. The little kids are freaking out non-stop because they're being kept out of the party. Nagi has to warn them that the real monsters are deeper in, so deep they'll get one-shotted the moment they run into the higher-level ones. To settle the fight, he agrees to drive them out to the outskirts and grind mobs there, all to help shield the town. They even drag Balagius along too, like, for straight-up extra firepower. The kids are acting like this is the biggest adventure of their lives, as they all buzz with adrenaline, ready to kick off their training. Ugly trash mobs are already creeping in the shadows, just waiting to ambush them. Something huge is definitely lurking in the tall grass, and it sounds like it's already lining up to hunt them. The squad is deep in the woods getting real training time, while Ruto and Helio lock in and forge brutal synergy. Ruto's spider sense sparks the instant he hears a sneaky rustle coming from the thicket. Before the threat can fully show up, Nagi snaps orders for everyone to hit the ground and readies his counterattack. Ruto doesn't even pause. He barks one hard shout and blasts a blazing, high-pressure torrent of water magic straight out. He's locked in hard, pouring every last drop of his mana into this opening move like it's do or die. A pair of nasty goblins get instantly wrecked the moment a brutal water blast hits them. Helio rushes over to check if Lord Naga's alright, and sure enough, Naga's still cool, like he's never bothered by anything in his life. Honestly, he's pretty blown away by how fast these kids are leveling up their fighting skills. Nagi decides to hang back so the boys can gulp down all the XP. Then Balagius suddenly clocks a second presence creeping nearby. More trash mobs are crowding in along the tray line, and trust me, they don't look friendly at all. Nagi snaps at everyone that getting surrounded is basically instant game over, so he tells them to stay out of reach. Ruto suddenly spots it, something else lurking in the chaos, not just the goblins stuck in the middle. A pack of goblins is herding a helpless victim deeper into the tangled brush, trapping them with nowhere to run. Turns out it's this tiny, winged kitten creature, and it's getting absolutely crushed by brutal debuffs. Ruto's ready to rip the attention onto himself and charge to save it, even as Helio screams that jumping into an ambush is a tactical death trap. Ruto won't just sit there sobbing. He screams that if we don't move right now, that child will die. Seeing his friends lock in, Helio throws himself into the fight so they can wipe out the lobby as a team. Nagi nods and gives them the green light, swearing he'll jump in the second things start getting sketchy. The duo rockets forward with zero hesitation. Ruto douses that goblin in the face with a water blast as Helio slides in, spear ready, to land the next hit. Helio goes all in, snapping a brutal strike that catches the monster totally off guard. The moment their health bars hit zero, the goblins unleash a furious screech. One last burst of magic crashes through the clearing as the kids go all out. Ruto wipes out the final stragglers with a perfectly timed surge of elemental power. Once the area was finally cleared, the boys sucked in a breath and stared across the battlefield like, "We made it." They bolt toward the fallen creature, and Ruto is basically pleading with it, begging it to stay awake and hold on. Nagi swings in with a top-tier heal and snaps the little guy's wounds shut in an instant. Even after the injuries fade, the creature still looks wiped out, like every last spark of energy has been ripped away. Ruto figures it's just starving, so he pulls out his own lunch and hands it over like, "Here, eat up and get back on your feet." The tiny fluff ball leans in and gives the bread a careful sniff, like it's sizing up danger. Suddenly, it lunges, snatches the food, and rockets straight for a nearby cave entrance. The crew picks it up and trails it straight into the darkness, determined to find out what's really lurking in the shadows. They rush into the cave, and the creature's echoes slam back at them, roaring off the wet, damp walls. Deep inside, the tiny one carefully lets the bread fall right in front of the massive figure. It leans in, coaxing the food back to its parent, praying they'll finally get to eat together. It keeps pawing at the parent, begging like crazy for any asterisk reaction at all. But here's the brutal truth. Your parent is nothing but a cold, decaying skeleton. The truth smashes into the group like a wrecking ball as they watch the baby mourn its lost kin. She finally crumples to the ground, wrecked by exhaustion and drowned in grief. Ruto is absolutely unraveling. He just stares at the tragic scene, frozen in pure shock. Nagi doesn't sugarcoat anything. She lays out the brutal truth. This kid can't survive a day by themselves. Helio's stomach flips at the thought of unleashing a wild beast in town, but Ruto refuses to back down. He stares at the orphan and blurts out, "Kid, you're exactly like me." He still remembers this. If Nagi hadn't lunged in to save him, he'd be gone. Ruto drops to his knees and begs Nagi to trust him with the little guy's life. because he wants to own every single bit of responsibility. Seeing Rudo's unwavering conviction, Nagi nods, gives his blessing and puts his trust in the boy's heart. They slow down just long enough to build a real memorial for their fallen parent, right down to a sweet little drawing carved into the stone. Rudo grins with pride and announces, "From today on, I'm your little creature's big brother." Then we jump to another training ground, and a massive gauntlet gets smashed to pieces by a single brutal hit. Ms. Anya snaps things shut, ending the session right there for Yona and Renil. The two boys are absolutely wrecked from that brutal training regiment, so they drop into a seat and catch their breath. Yona's fuming after today's match, because he only scraped together one single point against Raniel. He's honestly blown away by just how insanely good Renil is every time they spar. Renil fires back a compliment, grinning as he admits Yona's turning into a monster of her own. He points out that Yona's got rare talent in both spirit magic and swordsmanship. Yona's buzzing because his grind is finally paying off. As Yona vows to slam the gap between them, Renil's face twists into pure melancholy, like she's hiding a whole storm of secrets underneath. The mansion's silence gets obliterated by a brutal crash that slams through the halls like thunder. Rudo and our boy sprint straight toward the noise, only to slam into a full-blown disaster zone where debris is flying every which way. Crouched in the shadows under the furniture, a tiny tiger cub snarls and bares its fangs, ready to snap and bite anyone who dares to get too close. But this isn't some random stray kitten. This one's a Eucarian, a legendary creature with white fur wings and a magic eye on its forehead, and that eye gifts it wild randomized abilities no one else can match. Neji tries to look unbothered, sliding a hand forward to lure the little beast out of its hiding spot. But this little cub has zero chill. It's instantly pouncing, biting straight into Naga's hand, while Rudo just stares in full-blown panic. Rudo finally scoops up the spicy little fur ball, but it keeps gnawing on him, so yeah, he's eating chip damage for it. "Ouch, don't bite me," he begs, but the little cub isn't being mean. It's just getting rocked by this whole brand new world. Because there's no handbook for raising a legendary beast, the whole crew is just improvising as they go. Rudo snaps to the truth. This isn't something they can handle alone, and pushes to hit the city to get advice from Agatsuma's top-tier apprentices. They tracked down Neo and Luo, two researchers who looked like they'd rather live in the pages than in the sun. The second they hear Yukari on Cube, their eyes snap wide open like they just scored a triple SSR in one lucky 10 pull. They say Eucarians are so rare that real sightings might as well be bedtime legends, so finding even a cub, that's basically impossible. Nagi draws a firm line and explains, "This cub's still too jumpy for a real scientific study, and the whole plan has to slow down." The apprentices' hopes crash, but they still nod and agree to wait. Then they pull out what they've unearthed from ancient texts to keep the truth alive. Turns out these monsters are apex predators, and they basically never leave their home turf. Their magic eye is the real deal. One look, and it can slap debuffs on you like petrification, crush your mind with illusions, or even erase you from sight with pure invisibility. To help the cubs get settled, the apprentices start whispering, "You'll need one special item, something that'll bridge the gap and finally let everyone understand each other." Everyone has been on pins and needles, waiting for the dungeon expedition team to come back with rare materials that could supercharge their medicine research. Rudo is desperate to find a real way to finally hear what the cub is feeling. Luil drops a jaw-dropping bombshell, a beast mind potion that works like a universal translator for animals. But here's the twist. The materials are brutal to track down, like they're buried somewhere deep in the dungeon's darkest corners. Maggie decides the moment they roll back in, they're cracking open the expedition team's loot. No delays. For now, they sprint back to check on the cub, and he's still hiding under the furniture like a full-on shut-in. The food and milk sit untouched, and that cub looks like it's getting wrecked by some brutal mood debuffs. Nagi tells Rudo to back off and give it room, because you can't force a bond like this with sheer speed. Rudo stands tall and vows he'll stay right there, waiting until that little tiger finally dares to open its heart. The very next day, Philly and the whole expedition squad roll back into town in triumph after their successful run. She beams at Nagi with a huge grin, proudly flaunting a mountain of goodies that would make any farmer green with envy. They've locked down Oron Nectar, an insanely valuable ingredient that's used to forge evolution elixirs. Nagi cradled a sapphire leaf in his hand. This top-tier treasure could snuff out even the ugliest, nastiest evil curses. Philly starts cracking open their dungeon strategy, laying out how they carved out a base and kicked off the grind. The lower levels were crawling with insect-mad trash mobs. Giant ants and mantises swarmed everywhere. Nagi is stunned he hasn't bumped into them sooner, but Philly cuts in, saying that the Great Spirit's aura probably shoved them into hiding. The team raked in an insane haul of venom and carapaces from those bugs. They also crashed into plant-type monsters, dryads and oranies, and took them down fast, grabbing even more loot as they went. These materials are basically mythical out there, so the team is sitting on a literal jackpot. Neon, Neo, and Luol are tall, so they can craft all kinds of top-tier medicines with pinpoint precision. Philly thinks the dungeon's packed with around 100 monsters, and no matter what you do, they'll all come right back, guaranteeing a steady supply of materials. With the trance on and herbs in hand, she judges the dungeon, then declares it top tier. Nagi blurts the rank again, and the moment sinks in. This is way bigger than they ever expected. He remembers it plain as day. The guild ranks every dungeon on 2 levels, how brutal it is and how great the rewards are. The challenge is chopped into 5 levels, starting at the easiest and climbing all the way up to the toughest. Meanwhile, the loot gets ranked from trash all the way up to the absolute best. Because they're sitting on a top-tier gold mine, Nagi finally snaps and decides the place deserves a real name, something better than calling it just some dungeon. The apprentices are all in, pleading with their lord to give it a name that perfectly matches what it's like. Nagi pauses and lets his imagination lock onto the place ahead. He can't stop thinking about those blazing flowers, and how only a handful of people are even brave enough to get there. He still remembers those towering plant monsters standing guard over the groves. He proposes the secret domain of plant beasts, and the whole team lights up like, this is our vibe. Right when they kick off plans for their next expedition, Naga's gamer sense starts screaming. A sudden sharp ripple tears through the air like the world just blinked. A surge of spiritual energy crashes into him, and his eyes snap wide. Because he instantly feels it, something is horribly wrong. He can feel one of his contracted spirits in mortal danger. It's not the big, untouchable threats like Suiko or Yona. It's someone far more exposed, easy to break, and that's what makes it terrifying. It's Rue, the very first familiar he ever sent out years ago to help a kid named Lumina. We catch a glimpse of Lumina, now older, and panic grips him as he desperately hurls his water magic to shield himself. A horde of monsters is tearing the village apart, and the screams of the people slice through the air. Lumina is sweating bullets as a nightmare squid monster looms over him, swallowing the light. That monster's aura is straight-up nightmare fuel, and the boy freezes in terror, helpless as it winds up to strike. He lunges to block it, but the monster's power crashes through him, and he gets sent flying. Right when the monster is about to end him, Naga's presence slams onto the battlefield like an actual god dropping from the heavens. With a single snap of will, he hurls a colossal sphere of water, clamping the monster inside while Lumina stays safe behind it. With a snap of his wrist, he cranks the water pressure to maximum, crackling straight through the monster and blasting it into a gory cloud straight back to the respawn screen. Nagi drops in with a soft splash, snatching a glowing fragment the corrupted water spirit beast left behind. Lumina shoots his gaze upward, tears pouring down his cheeks as he realizes it's his savior standing there. Naga's eyes snap to Rue, who looks absolutely wrecked after taking hit after hit. The scene is bleak. Villagers are sprawled across the ground, battered and broken. Then Nagi unleashes a flash of healing light that snaps their wounds shut in an instant. Everyone's calling it a miracle, but Nagi just shoots Lumina a calm look, telling her to keep his real identity under wraps. Even after the rescue, the village looked wrecked, homes flattened to the ground and the land torn up like it took the full brunt of the attack. Nagi stares at the wreckage, his expression hardening as the truth hits. There's no way they can walk away from this mess. Narsha and Lumina's mom bolts outside, finally breathing again, because her son is still there despite what that monster just did. Narsha has zero clue about the hooded stranger lurking there, calling out, "Big brother, who are you?" Lumina gets hit with a nostalgia bomb, realizing his little sister was so tiny when Nagi first saved them that she can't even remember his face. Lumina stays cool and cuts straight to it. She calls him Lord Neji ***, the man who saved her life years back. Things hit a breaking point when the village elders slam everyone into a meeting to decide their next move. It slams him with a brutal wake-up call as he watches the bodies get carried away, realizing the ones he thought would make it didn't have plot armor long enough to reach him. Naga's just lounging on a crate as Lu drifts nearby, fully waiting for Lumina to wrap things up with the survivors. Right then, Lumina finally barrels up to him, breathless, and throws out a sincere apology for keeping him waiting. Nagi can't stop staring at the growth spurt and the glowing powers, and he realizes just how tightly he's bonded to that tiny water spirit. He can't stop being amazed that Lumina actually pulled out legit spirit magic in that last fight. Lumina suddenly starts flashing back, and it's wild. Ever since he first met Nagi, Lu has basically been his guardian angel. Even when his mom only clipped her finger with scissors, Lu was already lurking in the dark, quietly getting his hands dirty. His mom kept calling it some random spirit blessing, totally clueless that the real MVP was standing right there the whole time. Lumina spent years craving one impossible thing, being able to see the spirit that kept his family healthy, then finally thank it to its face. On his 7th birthday, he finally landed a legendary draw, Then a mysterious mark burned onto his hand, and at last he could clearly see Lu's adorable face. That's when the merchant Philly rolled in, and suddenly everything turned wild. Philly the elf instantly spotted the spirit, and the contract mark burned into the back of Lumina's right hand. She was genuinely buzzing, like, maybe your feelings slip away and you suddenly lose the connection. And just like that, it happened, no forcing, it came naturally. Philly isn't some random NPC, she's an elf, so she can sling spirit magic even without a contract. She steps in and promises to train Lumen in the real ropes, so he can level up into a top-tier mage like Nagi. Right now in the present, Lumina's gripping his hands like he's begging for mercy, still feeling like a nobody because he couldn't take down that last boss all by himself. He doesn't just call it a monster. He says it's on a whole different planet compared to anything he's ever laid eyes on. Nagi rips open the dark truth. This wasn't just some crystal, it was a water spirit gem that demons twisted into a full-on killing machine. The demon threat is exploding worldwide, and even these backwater villages are getting hit now. Naju locks eyes with Lumina and tells him straight up, because Lu is like his own kid, Lumina matters to him just as much. He leans in and tells the kid, if you're ever in trouble, you come to me, I've got you. Lumina doesn't hesitate, he drops his head and pleads with all his heart, Lord Neji, please save this village. It's gut-wrenching watching him crumble as he admits they've lost countless people, and their food stores are totally wrecked. He's sweating buckets, terrified that if one more wave of monsters crashes in, his people will starve to death. The whole scene is grim, only around 20 men still standing, holding the line to protect traumatized women and kids who have been through too much. Nagi knows he can't just dump them into his lake. Those dark elves would instantly lose their cool the moment they see humans show up. He makes the call to step up, then gently rests a hand on the crying boy's head. He vows to back them all the way, so they can rebuild their home from the very ground up. Nagi figures out that if some random stranger starts handing out freebies like that, the villagers are going to smell something fishy fast. He finally drops his disguise and unveils his real power as a great spirit, because that's the move to make the whole transition way easier. The very next day, Lumina drags him straight to the village chief, then Nagi drops the bombshell. I'm Nagi, the great spirit of water. To prove it, Lumina spills the truth. Neji was the one who cured his mom's terminal illness years ago. The whole crowd is left reeling, staring in disbelief like, why would a real, literal god go out of his way for us? Neji stays humble, saying he's only doing what Lumina's contract with his familiar set in motion. Just like clockwork, the support squad rolls in with wagons packed to the brim with loot. Philly and the beefy dwarf Garu burst out, geared up to tackle everything from hauling supplies to fixing broken buildings. The second the cavalry rolls in, the whole village drops to the ground and performs a full-on kowtow, shouting respect with every bowed head. Nagi tells them to calm down, lift their heads, and remember, food matters way more than his ego. Since he doesn't know the village's layout, he snaps the village chief into charge of the distribution. As the villagers finally get fed, the whole atmosphere snaps from pure despair to blazing hope. Lumina marches up to Nagi, and the guilt hits her hard for outing his secret identity to the whole world. But Nagi doesn't care. He's just overjoyed to see Lumina's family healthy, smiling, and genuinely grateful. Even Nasha's little sister finally remembers the spirit that saved her as a tiny baby. Nobody tells her to keep cheering for her family. She just grins the biggest grin and keeps showing up for them. Suddenly, a thunderous crash rips through the air. Garrett has started smashing a house right there. Nagi blurts, yo, what are you doing? That house was still totally usable. But the dwarf isn't stopping there. He slaps down a blueprint and unveils a massive upgrade plan for the whole village architecture. Now you're stuck sweating through the dwarf's relentless hype as he pushes for a full rebuild. As the sun sinks over the ruins, the village's recovery is roaring back to life, and real hope finally starts to bloom.